solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning.
Good morning, Shannon.
Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy on Autism Live. Nancy and I are here and we're so excited. You can see that we've already got our guest with us, our first guest, I should say, Anita Lesko. And we're so excited to have Anita with us. Originally we were going to have Anita on Tuesday, and we needed to rearrange some things that all worked out. And so we've got her here today on Friday. So good morning, ladies. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Well, I'm better now because I have this. It's reversed. Good morning, Nancy. So we are going to, Anita, you're one of our favorite guests of all time. I got to tell you, we absolutely love having you on. For those of you who don't know, Anita was the bride in the all autism wedding. And I think that's the first time that we got initiated into your wonderful world. And we just love Anita and her husband. And how long have you guys been married now, Anita?
5 years.
And are you still as blissfully happy as you were in the beginning? Because you still look it.
Yeah, no, we are. And, because we work as a team. We're like, like two peas in a pod or something. I don't know what you want to call it, but, we complement each other. I'm the kind of high-strung one. Abraham's always having to work hard to kind of keep me calmed down. Poor thing.
Well,
Anita, what was that like getting married with all those people involved? I'm just curious. What was the experience like?
It was a very fun experience. I mean, and one of the things, I didn't have to do any wedding planning. We just kind of showed up. That was our job, show up at the wedding. So that sure made it easy. But having all the autistic people there, and one of the people in particular, Mike Corrins, he sang at our wedding, and every time I hear the song that he sang, sung by the person who really sings it, the artist, and I always think Mike does it better. Nobody does it as good as he does. But it just was a very exciting, and one of the things, I remember the day just before I walked down the aisle, I couldn't believe it, I guess, because being autistic, my whole life, and it's something which I didn't even find out till I'm 50, but you always have that feeling of being rejected and not fitting in and everything. So my whole life, I kind of always thought there's no way in the face of the earth that I'm ever going to be getting married or having even a relationship, let alone getting married. So that was one of the thoughts just before I walked down the aisle, that I couldn't believe that it was actually really happening. And well, I spoke at the United Nations back in 2017 for World Autism Awareness Day, and they had me talk about love and relationships and marriage. And that was the message I tried to convey, that to people, to understand that people on the spectrum have those needs and desires too. We might not show it necessarily on our face or however, lack of facial expressions and that kind of thing, but that feeling is there, and we have real emotions and feelings just like everybody else.
Yeah, well, that's really important to point out. And you're a great example of that. And we're just so happy for you.
Yes. And, I feel like your life has been such an adventure, and we're so lucky that you share that adventure with us through your books and through the things that you do through your speaking and your online presence. And you know, you've had a fascinating story up till now, but you've had some stuff that happened that led to this new book that is just out in April, a food revolution. So maybe tell us a little bit about what led up to this book.
Well, back in Labor Day of 2017, I discovered that I have diabetes. I had not been feeling well for months prior to that, and all the symptoms were really there, except I you know, brushed under the carpet, rationalized to everything, and it's, I feel ashamed. I'm a healthcare professional at the highest level of the healthcare professional doing anesthesia for people in the operating room, and here's me ignoring very obvious symptoms, but I kept attributing it to my busy life. You know, oh, I'm really exhausted. I'm really dehydrated. I'm, you know, I have some blurry vision. And so things like, for example, blurry vision, I'd sit there, I'd be at work and I'm looking around at all my coworkers, most of whom are like half of my age. And half of them are wearing eyeglasses. So I'm like, wow, well, why? Well, sure, of course I've got blurry vision. You know, at my age, why would I think not? So everybody needs those, I call them grocery store reader glasses, you know? So I attributed the blurry vision to just my age, and everybody needs eyeglasses. So on Labor Day, when I had just come back from, I flew out to Fort Collins, Colorado, for Temple Grandin's 70th birthday celebration, which was a really big deal that they had for her. And so when I came back, I was really exhausted beyond my comprehension, massively dehydrated. But again, I'm saying, well, all these plane rides, I spent a lot of time out in the sun, because when I was out there, Temple had taken me out to the farm where she teaches her graduate students how to work with the cattle. So I was out there amidst all those cattle and out in the sun all day. So I'm thinking, well, that's why I got so dehydrated and everything. So on Labor Day, and I'm so sick by this point, and I realized, okay, I think something's really wrong. I finally admit to myself that something's really wrong. So then I discover, okay, my blood sugar is over 500. I end up in the emergency room. Okay, all these things. I did not stay at the hospital, much to their dismay, but I went home after 8 hours of getting IV fluids and all that. So I then followed up with my primary care doctor. Well, he wanted to prescribe me all these medications with typical metformin, glipizide, you know, regular insulin, statin drug and all this. Well, I'm not a very happy camper with taking medications. They make me sicker beyond sick. And I wanted a natural way to cure diabetes. Well, I started researching. So I would find, and I spent the next year and a half constantly researching how to naturally cure diabetes. So I found some things that helped me bring my blood sugar from, like, let's say 500 down to 250. Well, that's not, I mean, it's better, sure, but it's not good. You know, sometimes I might get it to 180 and I'm thinking, oh, wow, this is really good. Well, I mean, it's not really, you know, you want your blood sugar under 100, around, you know, 80 to 100 for being okay. Well, so this kept going on. Every time I go to the doctor and I'd say, there's got to be some, a natural way to take care of diabetes. And he would say, well, no, diabetes is worse than cancer, because at least cancer, some of the cancers have treatment, you can cure it and all this thing, but diabetes is a progressive disease and there's no cure for it. Well, to make a long story short, okay, so come March of last year, so March of 2019, my primary care doctor fired me because he said I'm a non-compliant patient, I'm a too high risk, I don't follow his orders and take the medications that he keeps prescribing, you know, one thing after another. And one of the things is, as a healthcare professional, or what, you know, first thing I do is I go read about what are the possible side effects of drugs. And that's all I have to see is some, you know, catastrophic possible side effect. And that's it. I'm just done, not going to do that. So I kept looking, okay, there's got to be a way. So after he fired me, which then like a week later, he sends me a certified letter to be sure that I understand that I'm fired from him. So a month later, one of my anesthesiologists that I work with in the operating room all the time, he he called me up about a scheduling issue, and he was chomping away on something. I said, you know, yeah, it's kind of annoying listening to him chomp, chomp, chomp as he's talking to me. So I said, what are you eating? Because it's kind of really annoying to me. And he said, I'm eating a papaya, and you need to go get yourself one right there at by your house at the store. And I said, you know, I have diabetes. You know, I can't eat things like papaya. Now, one of the things I have to back up and say, that doctor that I had been going to, he had told me to eat a keto diet with like between like 50 to 70 carbs a day at max, but just focus on, you know, meat, chicken, eggs, and that kind of thing. So that's what I was doing for that like almost 2-year period of time. I was eating lots of vegetables and no fruit because of the sugar, but lots and lots of vegetables, but high in animal protein. So, okay, so here my doctor, my boss person who's eating the papaya, he said, well, yes, you can have it. I know you have diabetes, but yes, you can have fruit. And I said, no, I can't. And he said, yes, you can. I said, no, you can't. This is going back and forth. Finally, so a couple of days later, I texted him and I said, I kind of jokingly said, because I'd been thinking about it, I had missed eating fruit so bad for that 2-year period of time. And I thought, well, I'm never going to be able to eat fruit because of all the sugar. So I jokingly text my boss man back and I said, I think I'm going to go, because he's Vietnamese and they eat tons and tons of white rice and all this and fruits and everything. And I texted him, I said, I think I'm going to go on a Vietnamese diet, and then I can eat papaya. So he calls me up and he goes, you know, in Vietnam, hardly anybody has diabetes, and yet, you know, they eat tons and tons of white rice all day long, tons of fruits and everything. You need to talk to my sister. Well, his sister is an ER doctor at the hospital where I work. And he said, he goes, she'll put on a show for you and entertain you for an hour. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? He said, I'll just fix you up with her. So I didn't know what it meant, but I thought, hey, it might be something that's going to help me. So like a week later, I go over to her house. She had me come over there, and she starts talking about the whole food plant-based diet in particular. And she reaches over and she gets this book and she hands it to me. And this is a book by Dr. Neil Barnard. Well, Dr. Neil Barnard is a world famous physician, researcher. He's the founder and president of this thing called the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And the thing was, in that moment, when she handed me that book, I froze and I got so overwhelmed with emotion, because back in like 2006, my mom had that book. She had me get that book because she had seen Dr. Barnard on, I think it was like Dr. Oz show or somewhere. And she wanted us to go on that diet at the time. Well, I didn't have diabetes back then, or neither did she, but she kept saying, this looks like a super healthy way to eat. Let's just go on this and let's prevent these diseases and so forth. And it's like, I don't want to hear anything. I was at that point in my life, I wasn't ready to listen to that. And I thought it was just another crazy fad diet or something. So, okay, so fast forward then to March 2019. So when I saw the book, and all of a sudden it just like, it hits me and I realized, oh, good God, this is what I've been looking for the past 2 years, all this research, and here it was right in my head, only I didn't remember it. And for whatever reason, I guess the way I was entering, trying to find a way to cure diabetes, it wasn't coming up in my search. So that day I became a vegan. I came home and I said to Abraham, and I said, you know, this is, I showed, because the lady gave me that book, and I brought it home. And then it turns out I had that book in the house, which we then found a couple months later, covered with about 2 inches of dust somewhere in the back closet. That had been my mom's book. I said to him, I said, I have to go on this diet. This is how I'm going to get rid of this diabetes for once and for all and everything. And he said, well, what does it mean? And I said, then I start telling him, and he said, well, count me in, I'm in. I looked at him, I said, okay, well, that's great. So from that day, May the 13th, 2019, I went on this plant-based diet and never looked back. Within the first week, my blood sugars were coming down from like the 250s down to 140. By the second week, I'd pick my finger and it would be 87. So from then on, it just, my blood sugar came down. I started losing weight. Now I didn't set out looking to lose weight. I'm thrilled to pieces, but that's just a normal process because you're not eating any fat. So you start losing weight, and I've lost 72 pounds so far. I'm looking to make it an even 100. So by probably be a couple more months before I get up to that point. But it was just so amazing how within days of how you start feeling, and by 2 weeks, the dramatic difference in how you feel and your blood sugar. And so now I don't have, I reversed the diabetes, lost the 72 pounds. I don't have to take high blood pressure medication anymore. And I feel like a new person doing things that I thought like it just was never going to happen anymore. You know, like I can do exercising and different things, working outside with the horses and stuff that I thought, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do that again. But I feel like I'm 20 years old. And this coming July, I'm going to be 61. Shh, don't tell anybody. I'm going to be 61 years old, but I feel fantastic. And I went to, back in September, I went to this conference out in Oakland, California. It was a plant-based international healthcare conference for physicians and nurses and everybody. And I went out there and I got to meet Dr. Barnard in person, and I hooked up with him ahead of time. And I'd asked him, could I interview him? And he had said yes, very graciously. And we got to sit down. I got to talk to him and interview him. I video recorded the whole thing. So on my new website, that interview is there with him, because that was very exciting to me to meet Dr. Neil Barnard in person. I mean, he's at the tip of the spear of the whole plant-based movement, and he is like the biggest deal that there is. So that he took the time out of his schedule to let me interview him was I felt pretty excited for that. But when you go to, well, I went to that conference, and I had been, of course, by this point, I had, of course, my laser focus. I had read so much that I've like earned a PhD in plant-based nutrition, okay, before I even went to that conference. Well, listening to like, and as you can read about all these like thousands and thousands of success stories, whether it's diabetes, there's like people who, all kind of like inflammatory diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, who could hardly even get out of bed or lift up a cup of coffee, and then they're out playing tennis 6 months later, because the plant-based diet takes all the inflammation out of your body, okay, among other things that it does. But the only, I don't want to say bad, no, the only side effects of the plant-based diet is that you lose weight and you feel great and you get healthy, okay? So those are the 3 side effects of the plant-based diet. The only supplements that you do have to take is vitamin D and vitamin B12. Now, vitamin D, I choose to get that by going outside. I go about probably 4 or 5 days a week for like 15 or 20 minutes, and it has to be between like 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And just for like 15, 20 minutes. And you have to have like your arms and your legs skin exposed so that you absorb the sun rays, which makes your body manufacture the vitamin D. Vitamin B12, I eat that most of the time as in the form of what's called nutritional yeast. And that's a fun thing to use because it has kind of like a cheese-like flavor, which allows you to make things that taste like macaroni and cheese, where you use cauliflower and what have you. But that nutritional yeast is very easy to eat. I can eat it right out of the container. It's so much fun to eat. And if one of the people say, oh, they're always worried about, what about protein? What about protein? Your body does not need as much protein as you're kind of led to believe, as I call it. The amount of protein that you get in this diet, eating like the legumes, grains, fruits, and vegetables, you're getting more than you need. I mean, people at work started noticing how I look, very shortly after, and they're like, how come you're glowing? Are you in love, newly in love? You got a boyfriend going? I said, no, I'm in love with fruits and vegetables and legumes and grains because it's making me feel like a new person. So then I realized, I said, and I remember the day I met Dr. Barnard, I said, what can I do to help other people? And he said, look, he said, you're a plant-based success story. You need to share that story with other people. And then, and that's when I realized I need to write a book. So what I did, I wrote the book, and it's kind of in 3 sections. Part of it is about my own personal journey and how I did it. The second part is I share with other people how to do it themselves, because it's kind of a process, you know? And so I share all the different steps about how to go about doing it so that they can easily do it and be prepared and all that. The third part, which is a very critical part, majority of physicians don't know about a plant-based diet. One, they never get any nutrition training in medical school. And this is an ongoing thing. That's one of the things that Dr. Barnard is, he's all over that. There's tons of people that are doing things to make it happen that medical students get this training, and they're trying to work nationwide. They're doing things like for physicians that they're part of their continuing education has to be to learn about the plant-based diet, to offer that to their patients as kind of like a first line of treatment for the medication or for their disease of whatever it is, or if they don't have anything wrong with them, to help them not get anything wrong with them by prevention, by eating this way. Like Dr. Barnard has his the Barnard Medical Center in Washington, D.C. When patients come there, Dr. Barnard, you know, he'll spend 10, 15 minutes, whatever, with the patient, but when he walks out that door, there's then, as he calls it, an army of people thereafter to work with that patient to, if the patient is interested in trying a plant-based diet to treat their diabetes or heart disease or whatever it is they have, or just to go on it if they're healthy, to get healthier and stay healthy. So he has all these, you know, nutritionists and dietitians and the nurses and all these people to help that patient, and that patient spends a whole lot of time there to learn all this, because they're not just, you know, most of us are used to, you go to the doctor, they talk to you a couple minutes as they're sitting there on their typewriter, you know, typing out your medical thing, and then they're out the door, and then you're like, now what, you know? So it's working with many people who are involved in this whole plant-based movement to get physicians educated on that. And so in my book, I provide every resource on the face of the earth for a physician to look at, to read, to contact, even contact Dr. Barnard and go there and spend a week at his clinic to see how it's done. But doctors need to understand the power of a plant-based diet to realize that this patients, and give patients a little more credit, and not just think, oh, people, they're not going to be motivated to go on this, because people are motivated to go on it. And once they actually do, and they see how great they feel and how their health is evolving into such a positive way, that's the motivation to keep on going. So that's why I wrote that book. And Dr. Barnard was so gracious enough to write the foreword for that book for me. So I was really excited about that.
Well, Anita, go
There it
ahead,
is.
Shannon.
No, I want you to go ahead.
Anita, obviously it's based on plants. I mean, it's a plant-based diet, but can you give us a little bit more information on what your diet looks like?
Sure, yes. Okay, and it's funny because I wrote a blog that I put out today. The picture that goes with the blog is a refrigerator with the door open with one head of broccoli sitting in that refrigerator.
Huh.
Well, and the story behind that is when I came home the day when I learned about the plant-based diet, when I came home and said to my husband, Abraham, that we're going to go on this, well, the first thing we had to do was literally gut out the refrigerator of every animal product that was in there. And it took a while. We had to go through the refrigerator, the freezer, and all the pantries. I'm talking, and this is, we're looking at each other like, because we were supposed to have this celebration dinner that coming weekend, okay? So we had all this stuff that was ready in the freezer, and things that we don't even normally buy, but because we were gonna have the celebration, like the one thing that I laugh at was one of my favorite things used to be was Alaskan king crab legs, those big monster size crab legs, okay? So I had this big bag, it was like 4 pounds or something of it in the freezer. And so that was one of the last things, and I remember I pick it up and I looked at it, I looked at my husband, and I was like, oh my God. And then I said, wait a minute, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to get rid of this diabetes. I want to be healthy. Boom. And I threw it in the garbage. And that was the end of that. So by the time we were done getting rid of meat, chicken, pork, fish, butter, eggs, milk, cheese, and yogurt. So the only thing left in that refrigerator was a head of broccoli.
Mm-hmm.
And so that head of broccoli, because it was too late then to go to the store, because we have to get up so early. So I looked at him, I said, well, do you realize that broccoli has to be both of our breakfast and lunch for tomorrow? So that was kind of, we started out kind of not prepared because I wasn't expecting that day when I went over that lady's house that I'm going to become a vegan by the afternoon, you know? But once I knew they had that information, there was no way in a million years was I going to not do it at that point, despite that all we had that day was the broccoli. So anyway, so at first, you know, I'm like, okay, so what are we gonna eat? What do I eat? So that day after work, the next day I went to the grocery store and got all kind of vegetables. And the shock of it that I could eat fruit again, that was, I was beside myself because I love every fruit that there is. So we started out basically just eating like just whole foods, meaning I have a bowl would make black rice, bake up a purple sweet potato, some corn, some tomatoes, edamame beans, and I'd shave some turmeric root over all of that, okay, and just eat it just like that. So that's how in the beginning we ate just kind of just whole straight foods that, and where each ingredient has, I mean, each food has only one ingredient, you know, like apple, rice, that kind of thing. I got Dr. Barnard's in his book that How to Reverse Diabetes Without Drugs. He's got quite a lot of recipes in the back of that, which one of them called, I think it's Vegetarian 3-Bean Chili Express. I forget what page it's on, but that actually was like the first recipe that we started to make, and it's so delicious. We'd make like this big, huge pot of that and then be able to have it for like the next couple days or put some in the freezer or that kind of thing. Well, if you go online, I mean, of course, there's cookbooks galore on how to for plant-based recipes. But you can go online, doesn't cost you a penny, and find there are so many recipes you can't even believe. And you know what? You can actually modify pretty much any recipe to become a vegan recipe. You just replace things like you might replace meat with or chicken with tofu instead. You can bake tofu, grill it, steam it, do all kinds of things. You can marinate it, and it's very versatile and make all kinds of delicious meals. You know, we love all kinds of international things. You know, Chinese food, Indian food, Mexican, Korean. We make all these different delicious meals with just, you know, you have your fruits, your vegetables, tofu or tempeh, spices, and wow, you can come up with all kind of stuff, and simple. We like to keep recipes, maybe once in a while, like on a weekend, we'll make something that's more involved, but for basic, during the week and everything, it's things that have like 5 ingredients, you know, that takes you under 30 minutes to make it. And they're very filling because all these meals are very high in fiber. So it's very, very filling food. That's another thing. When you eat like this, you can eat as much as you want, when you want, and there's no weighing, no measuring, no points, none of that typical thing that's associated with diets. See, I like to call it the plant-based lifestyle because I hate the word diet, because to me, I've had a weight problem my whole life. Okay. So although I've tried every diet that there is, and none of them could ever work. I don't do well with little tiny portions, weighing and measuring things, points that I can't, it's just not going to work. I like to eat what I want when I want. And I used to laugh and think, oh, why can't there be a diet that I can eat what I want when I want and not, weigh it and everything? Well, there is. And what you'll find is once in a blue moon, I might think, oh, this was so delicious. I just have to have another plate of it. So then I go to eat it. Then I'm like, oh my, I'm so filled, because I feel like it's like Thanksgiving Day, because everything is so high fiber. When you eat, you feel like your stomach can explode. So you don't really need to eat huge volumes because it's high fiber food. But you're always filled, and I have not been hungry since just that first day when I had the broccoli to start out with. But other than that, normally. Now breakfast. Okay, so what do I normally eat? Every day, we love to have oatmeal for breakfast with several different kind of fruit in it. Now, oatmeal, it's either going to be whole oats, which is called oat groats, or those like old-fashioned rolled oats, and they're just rolled oat. Not if you start going less than that, or steel cut. Okay, but if you go less than either steel cut or the rolled oats, like anything that was cut instant or quick oats, they're kind of worthless to eat because they've been processed so much, it's worthless. So you gotta stick with either the whole oat groats, rolled oats, or steel cut. And they'll have like a cut up banana, cut up apple. A snack time will be say around 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever. It might be a chunk of baked tofu and some fruit of some sort. Okay. Lunch might be that chili, a big huge bowl of that chili with Dr. Barnard's vegetarian chili. Or in the supper will be like baked tofu. We tend to have a sweet potato every single day, like either purple or orange. That came about because I do a lot of research about all this kind of eating, and the Okinawa diet, which is supposed to be like one of the healthiest diets there are, except probably not anymore because they've had infiltration of fast food chains there. So they don't really eat so much like how they used to eat before the infiltration of those kind of places. But those people eat sweet potatoes every single day. Either it's purple or orange sweet potatoes or pumpkin. So that's another thing. We might have, we'll buy usually canned, just plain canned pumpkin. In November, we had, real pumpkins because we were able to get them. But the rest of the time, just like get like canned pumpkin and make pumpkin soup out of it, which pumpkin soup might be, you just put some soy milk and the pumpkin puree in a saucepan and add like some, spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves and all that. And you can thicken it up. Now this sounds really strange, but you can thicken that up by getting a can of like cannellini beans, and you put that all like in a food processor. And the cannellini beans, you won't taste the beans, but it'll thicken it up so it'll be like a real thick pumpkin soup. So and there's all these things you learn about how to cook in this fashion, because now, okay, we do not use any oils of any sort. I talk about that in my book. Now, cooking without butter or oil, you're like, what? How would you possibly do that? It's very easy. And in fact, I'm going to start this every once a week starting May the 12th. I'm going to have this live Instagram cooking show where I show how to cook without oil or butter. And I start with really basic things because I'm really surprised at how many people don't know how to do things like how to cut an onion without crying. Nothing's worse than you dread cutting that onion because you can be all crying and all. It's horrible. But it's very simple, actually. It's just a little special little technique. And bam, you don't have to worry about your eyes all burning and crying anymore. So this cooking show I'm going to start, it's going to be kind of, I'm going to make it fun and entertaining so people won't be afraid of cooking, eating like as a vegan and all that. But And so I'm, gonna make it like fun, like talk about like my story too, but how to get other people to go and do it. So I hope everybody tunes into that. That's gonna start on May the 12th, 6 o'clock Central Standard Time on my Instagram channel.
And what is your Instagram channel, Anita?
It is just Anita Lesko. And you know what? I believe it's like at Anita Lesko, or you're just going Anita Lesko on Instagram and it should come up. It's called like the Plant-Based Diva. Now my show is going to be called Come On Into My Kitchen.
Love it. Which is where you're sitting right now. So the book is called The Food Revolution. How do we get it? I got it through Amazon.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now so many things. I got to tell you, we had you on, I think it was last October, November, and I had gone through a very similar circumstances. I shared with you that I was diagnosed with diabetes and my sugar had skyrocketed and they put me on all these medicines and I was dizzy all the time. And you were like, Shannon, you got to do this. I feel like it was you and your mom, where your mom was like, this is a great diet, you should do it. And I listened enough to get the Dr. Barnard's cookbook. But I was worried because I was like, it's all that fruit and it's all these like sweet things and I'm gluten-free. And I was like, I'll be honest with you, the vegan part of it didn't scare me. You know what scared me? The oil part. That's the part that I'm like, I don't want to give up my oil, but I'd like to give up my high blood sugar and I'd like to give up the extra weight. And I want what you have in terms of how you're saying you feel good. That's what I want, Anita. So when I saw that you were putting out a book, I was like, oh, thank goodness, because I think that's what I need. And so I will say that, I'm having to order some things extra because it's hard right now during COVID. But I do think that, and you even say on your book that this is now more than ever, this is the time to be trying this because of how it strengthens your immune system. Talk a little bit about that, about why you think the plant-based diet during COVID is the way to go.
Well, as I stand all this time and we watch the news and how in the beginning, as the whole coronavirus started unfolding and they started recognizing very rapidly that the people who were doing the worst and dying are those people, the great majority. Yes, there's people who have no underlying health condition, at least not that they know of, but the vast majority of people were people who had diabetes. Was always the number one thing that they would list: high blood pressure, obese. So, and there's many reasons for those different factors. So, but here's a virus that is attacking, and it's going to be in our unfortunately in our society for forever, I suspect. I mean, I can't see that's ever really just going to go away. Hopefully, maybe it will, but at some point, things that the lockdowns and shutdowns are going to be lifted, and people have to kind of get back to normal. But people still need to be cautious because it's still going to be out there. And the best thing you can do, the only thing you can do, I mean, yes, I wear a mask every time I go out grocery shopping, and I put gloves on to be handling everything. But the best thing you can do is make yourself as healthy as you possibly can. Get rid of those underlying health conditions so that you're not one of those people that has it, so that if and when you get that virus, your body is going to be in a much better position to handle it than if you have all of that stuff going on. And then on top of that, then you get the virus and now your body is not going to handle it very well. So all the nutrients and everything that and I talk about that in that special chapter about how to make your body as best as you possibly can, getting healthy, boosting your immune system. When I say use the word boost, what that means is make it functioning at the capacity it's supposed to function at. You're not doing something to make it like in some kind of overdrive or anything. It's just to make your immune system work how nature intended it to work. But if you're deficient in nutrition and you live on, I have friends or coworkers and stuff. I have one friend of mine, her dinner every day is like a bag of Doritos. And I'm like, that's the kind of thing where you're not giving your body the tools that it needs to to build the immune system to work like it's supposed to. I mean, I use an analogy in my book. If somebody gave you a Lamborghini, which is like, I don't know, a couple $100,000 car, are you going to try and run it on kerosene, or would you want to put like the best fuel in it to make it last forever? Well, it's the same thing with your body. I mean, your body can work like a fine-tuned machine and work perfectly if you put the right things, you know, into it to run it. That's how I like to look at it. Now, let me mention about oil, why you don't want to have oil. Everything in the whole plant-based diet you can find, and I put in the back, I think there's 65 references in there, and it's all like research proven data about the whole food plant-based diet. With oil, it's very highly inflammatory because it's a very highly processed thing. It's like olive oil. Oh, you always hear, oh, it's so healthy, eat it, eat it, eat it. Who's out there propagating that? The olive oil industry, okay? Well, olive oil causes the inflammation in your body, okay? So that can lead to diabetes, can lead to heart disease, all other kind of inflammatory diseases. But you're eating it thinking, oh, I'm eating healthy, I'm eating the olive oil. Well, it's not. It's working against you. There's one of the doctors who's I've listed in that book, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, which I got to meet him in Oakland, California at the conference. And I actually have links in there. You can go and watch videos of him talking about, he's like the biggest proponent of not having any oils at all, how significant that is with heart disease. It inflames the lining of your heart, leads to a coronary artery disease, heart attacks, strokes and all that. So when you start reading about all of these things, and it's like, wow, okay, I didn't realize all of that. And no, I don't need it. And you get over your taste buds change very rapidly. Within a couple of weeks, you get over any kind of cravings or things like that. So it sounds like extreme, but then as Dr. Esselstyn will say, isn't it kind of extreme to have your whole chest sawed open with a big saw, your heart put on a bypass machine to get open heart surgery? That's kind of really extreme. That's far more extreme than stop eating oil. So if you think about it from that perspective, that what you put in your mouth, what you put on your plate is directly proportional to your overall health status. Then it helps you say, you know what, I can, I tell people, try it 21 days, 30 days, just try it, okay? And stick to it, be honest with yourself, stick to it, and then see how you feel after that. And then I've had quite a number of people already who've done that, and then they're like, wow. And so they've stayed on it, and they couldn't believe how different that they felt.
Well, I'm going to take that challenge, Anita. I'm going to take that challenge. I'm going to do it for 30 days. I can't wait. There's a recipe that she gives that's for carrots that you cook instead of hot dogs. You got to get this book, you guys. Unfortunately, we're out of time. But make sure that you check this out on Amazon. I ordered it. I got it. It's great. Like the recipes look fabulous. And she gives you all kinds of tips. I know that some of you are thinking, oh, I just can't cook that much. Nobody's busier than Anita. I think I'm busy. Nancy thinks we all think we're busy. Anita's like one of the busiest people there is. So she gives you tips for how to be able to do that. And I think it's worth a try. And we're coming into the season when produce, there's a big debate going on right now on Facebook where people are like, and it's cheaper to be vegan. And other people are like, no, it's more expensive to eat healthy. But this time of year, especially, pretty much anywhere you live, produce is available. Even in this COVID, in fact, farmers are wishing people were buying more produce. So support your local farmer. Get a CSA. I just started getting imperfect produce coming. It's delivered, folks, and it's cheaper than getting it at the grocery store, and you don't have to leave your home. So anyway, Anita, we love you. I'm so excited about this. I'm going to give this the 30-day try, and then we'll report back. How's that?
That sounds good. I'm going to hold you to it.
Yeah, and I might be calling you going, Anita, I don't know what to do about this.
I want to try it. Yeah, I want to try it for my son, because I'm sure with autism being, as many experts say, an inflammatory condition, it can be anti-inflammatory and work with autism.
There you go.
Indeed.
Okay.
All right. Well, the challenge is there. Anita, thank you so much. Give your fabulous husband a big hug from us. And you guys stay safe and well, okay?
You too. You too.
All right.
Anita.
Bye, Anita.
Bye.
I always hate to say goodbye to Anita, but we have another guest who's joining us right now, who is a wonderful young man, a self-advocate, a mover and a shaker. Ryan Lee is joining us right now, Nancy. And do I have to, no, you have to let him in, Traven. He's going to let him in right now.
Connecting right now.
He's connecting right now. And so thrilled to have Ryan here. Ryan's a wonderful writer and has posted several articles on many different outlets. There is Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Welcome to Autism Live and Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. How are you, Ryan?
Good. It's great to be here. First, I wanted to talk about like my perspective of autism, of how it was for me growing up.
Great.
You see, even before I knew I was diagnosed as a kid, I mean, I always knew I was different. I always felt like the oddball outside of my fears. And I always wondered why I couldn't be accepted or why I couldn't fit in. I used to go in my own little world as a kid, I mean, all the time. And people used to call it dreamland or something else. And they didn't know how to handle me.
And at what age did you know you were on the autism spectrum, Ryan?
Well, I was diagnosed when I was 3 years old. And my parents told me when I was 14 or 15, before I started high school. And I really didn't know what to think. I mean, I was embarrassed and ashamed of it. So when I got to high school, I tried to be like everyone else, like trying to fit in. I guess I tried a little extra too hard. And sometimes I acted out. Like when I was called a retard by a couple bullies, like my adrenaline sometimes kicks in and it made me so mad, I sometimes hit them.
It must have been very confusing for you to not have a diagnosis till later. You must have wondered, what's wrong with me?
Well, kind of. I didn't ask myself what is wrong with me. I just wondered that, am I different? I just didn't know how.
Right.
Yeah. And you say that when you first found out that you were, it wasn't something that you were proud of, but that has changed for you, right, Ryan? You are in a much different space about this, and you are now someone who speaks out about why you're proud of your diagnosis, and you're a wonderful role model for young people who are in that space that you were in before. Tell us how you got to that. How did you get through that, feeling ashamed to get to the place where you now accept and love yourself and are very proud of who you are?
Well, I read this book called Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed by this other autistic author named Tyler McNamer. And when I read the book, I realized autism is nothing to be ashamed of. I should be proud of who I am. And I needed to know, just be proud of my health. But there is a few problems about being autistic that I should tell you about.
Okay.
You see, sometimes I encounter people telling me that you don't look autistic. And I feel like I have to respond to them. Well, how the heck am I supposed to look then? Like, people always making assumptions about you without knowing the extent of your struggles. It's just frustrating. Having an invisible disability is challenging in many ways. And when people expect you to be, I don't like to say this word a lot, normal, or don't expect you to act in ways that don't feel natural, and they don't cut you any slack when you make mistakes, and they have high expectations of you based on your age and height. And sometimes people are more understanding when they see physical symptoms of a disability, like if someone has a facial deformity or if someone's in a wheelchair. And this is why it's important to educate others. I wouldn't change who I am for anyone else, but it's still hard to fit into a world that doesn't always fit you.
Absolutely. But have you learned now that, like you were saying, that you felt different before? And I love one of the things that Temple Grandin says, different but equal. Like different, I think of different as always being fabulous. And I was raised to believe that, but it wasn't until I was older that I realized, oh, other people weren't raised that way. And I don't get it. I gotta say, I think that different is the way to be. Do you now feel that?
Yes, I feel different that way. And autism is a different way of thinking, feeling, and living. And there's still a lot more work to be done in this world, like fighting the myths. There is still this myth for years that autistics have or lack empathy. For years, they depicted us as emotionally, socially clueless robots. But people just don't understand. The more you get to know an autistic person, the more you realize how caring they can be.
Yeah.
And having a lack of empathy is something we should be punished for. I mean, we can have empathy. We just show it in a different way. But the problem is some people aren't really direct with how they're feeling. And one of the hardest, that connects to the hardest things about having autism is not being able to pick up on emotional cues right away based on one's body language or facial expression. And there are some who are just like disown you or don't want anything to do with you or don't want to be around you for one stupid reason or another. And they just leave us in the dark and don't tell us why. And they should tell us what is making them uncomfortable, and then we could try to fix it and not leave us in the dark. It's not a loss, not the end of the line.
Ryan, what are some of the special, Ryan, what are some of the special qualities that you think autism has is given you being on the spectrum? What are some of the special gifts and abilities?
Well, I do write poems to express my feelings in a way. Like I've written a lot, like over the past year and a half. Yeah, it's just my way of expressing myself.
Uh-huh.
And Ryan, oh, you go ahead.
Yeah, every autistic has a gift. Like they just have to find out what it is.
What do you want for your future, Ryan? You're still a very young man. What are your hopes? What do you want to do with your life?
Well, to be honest, Shannon, when I was little, I really loved animals, and I wanted to go in the animal field and maybe be a vet or help in a vet technician. I went to Tuskegee University like for 5 years and studied animal science, and I got my degree. But to be honest, the animal field was a lot harder than I would thought it would be. So things didn't quite work out. But I'm just trying to figure myself out, who I am. And to be fair, not everyone gets the job that they majored in college.
And so do you, clearly you write, and as you said, you've been writing for the last year and a half. Do you think that maybe this is a path for you, that you want to be a writer?
Well, I write just for like as a hobby and try to inspire, but I haven't written a lot lately because I'm kind of out of ideas. I'm not that creative of writing a novel. So I'm still in the phase of figuring out who I am. But in the meantime, I just want to foster new relationships and make new friends, get to know new people.
Wonderful. Nancy, did you have a question for him? I feel like I'm hogging him.
No, not at all. What would you say to other young people like yourself who are on the spectrum and maybe struggling with finding their way in the world?
Yes, I would tell them that there are positive characteristics about you, no matter who you are. Just tell what you have to offer. And there won't be things that everyone value, but it doesn't matter. Just like yourself. And I'm still learning that. Flaws and all, you are who you are.
Right. Okay.
Autism is not a disease. Autism is not a disease or an illness. It makes us who we are. And there's one thing you should know. Like there have been, I know you must have heard that some people think about curing autism, but there also has been few talk about if we could separate the symptoms from autism and still have it. I mean, that's not how it works. I mean, the symptoms are like a package deal with autism. Like you can't diagnose autism without symptoms, you know.
Yes, but there are some aspects of autism, and tell me what you think about this. Honestly, there are some, because you know both Nancy and I have sons that we love who are on the autism spectrum, and you know there are the way that they diagnose autism currently are deficits in specific areas. And, I happen to believe that everybody is a little bit on the spectrum. You just may not qualify for a diagnosis. So, I have problems with sensory things, for instance, but not so badly that it's considered a disability, and not so badly that I qualify for an autism diagnosis, right? If I went to the doctor, they would say, well, you have sensory issues, but you don't qualify for an autism diagnosis. And like social issues, that if somebody doesn't understand what the social constructs of something are, that is something that could potentially, if it is big enough, get you a diagnosis of autism. But some of that is skill. That obviously you are this amazing, intelligent young man, and there was a time when you were born when you did not know how to write, but you've learned how to write. That's a skill. And not everyone can learn that skill to the level that you do, but most people can learn how to write in the world. Not everybody, but most people. So my question is, if you get better and better, and clearly you're very good at social skills because you're here with us, and you advocated for yourself to be on the show and wrote to me, and you were persistent, which I applaud you for, because that's what gets it done. So my thing is, if there are parts of autism that are in your way, there are other parts of autism that are who you are, but there are parts that are a skill deficit. If we teach that person that skill deficit, just like we do with everything, like you were taught to write, I don't think that changes autism, because I think autism is a way to think, but eventually could someone get to the point where they have autism, but they don't have a disability? How do you feel about that?
Well, the thing is, with our symptoms, we can work on them, but that doesn't mean they'll completely go away. And there's some things I have to say about the social types of having autism. The thing is, the people on the higher end of the spectrum, like myself, like, it's not fair that the world keeps on telling us to change, keep on saying that we need to be more appropriate, and they need to not discriminate against us like that because we're different. But just because we can talk, say sentences fluently, and have verbal language, not like the people on the lower end of the spectrum, that doesn't change the fact that we're still on the spectrum. Sometimes it's hard for us to find the right words to express what we want to say. And as with any other person on the spectrum, we still have significant challenges in our everyday lives that stand in the way of us having a comfortable life or succeeding in school. And just so it's important to remember that autism is autism. And people whose disability can be invisible, we're very aware of our own difficulties and extremely sensitive to others' negative reaction. And autism is a word just to characterize how our brain functions, not how broken it is, and ways should be respected. But people still see us as broken, and it's not fair.
Well, I thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think that you're amazing.
And there's one more point I want to say.
Okay, we've got about 1 minute left, so make your point.
Yeah, the thing is, some autistics are very blunt and literal, and sometimes we have no filter that includes verbal filter or sensory processing filters. We say what's on our mind and exactly how we think, because if we don't say, we lose what we're trying to say.
Well, that's a good point, Ryan.
And it's refreshing, right?
I agree with Shannon that you're a remarkable young man. You're a great role model to everybody, and hopefully our audience who is listening today has been inspired by your story.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and that's Lisa Ackerman. We're so excited to have her here with us this morning. In fact, we're going to have her for the whole hour, end to end, because we never, and that's not going to be enough time, because we never have enough time to talk with her. I outsmarted myself a little bit because I was going to have two puppets during the little thing, but then I realized I needed a finger to unmute myself. So it's that kind of a day, Lisa. Yeah. So I want to start by saying welcome, you guys. So thrilled that you're here. And those of you who are here with us live, wonderful to have you. You can be writing in your comments right now on Facebook, on YouTube, or on our homepage at autism-live.com. If you need to watch this show later on, please know that there are a gazillion ways to watch it, not only on Facebook Live, but recorded, Facebook Live, but not live, right? YouTube Live, and then also podcasts. But you can watch this on iTunes. It's a free download. You can watch it with just sound, or you can listen to it with just sound, or watch it with sound and picture. And you can listen on Spotify, on Deezer, and on iHeartRadio. So, but you can all check out the whole thing, all the things. In fact, you can see every interview we've ever done with Lisa, and you can see every recipe that she's ever done on Autism Live. And you can see there's a whole series that she did called Taka Talk. So you can see all of those things on Autism Live's homepage, autism-live.com. I don't know if you know this, Lisa, but we're not now showing interstitial things as much while we're in this COVID thing and we're coming to you from individual homes. But we continue to show those recipes like nobody's business. And there's a whole playlist. In fact, there's 2 playlists that are just you on autism-live.com, which is pretty incredible.
Sorry.
I look like you. That's so funny. I say the same thing whenever people say, you know, oh, I watch you all the time. I go, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
But in your case, it's a good thing. For people who don't know you, there are lots of words to describe you, but certainly, you know, the one, see, I'm gonna get emotional already. The one that comes to mind, because it's this week, is that you are an amazing mom. And that has driven a lot of the things that you have done in your life. You are the founder of an amazing organization, the largest parent organization in the autism realm. Taka, you're wearing the shirt there, which stands for the Autism Community in Action. But you do a lot of things, and you are a lot of things to a lot of people. So it's a big thrill to get you to be with us in the week of Mother's Day. Let's start with, how are you doing?
Well, one, if I ever need an ego boost, I'm going to just come hang out with you.
Please.
I feel the same way about you.
Oh, bless your heart.
So,
but I'm your biggest fan. I don't know if you realize or remember that. That may not be true. Your kids are probably, I'm right up there with your kids.
Well, my kids are something else, grandson too. So yeah, it's a lot of fun being a mom and a grandma.
That's right. Your grandma too.
Yeah, we're doing okay. It's I refuse to call this the new normal. It's just this interim phase that we will get through together. You know, there's a lot of disruption, a lot of people suffering, and we're just trying to work through it and help people where they are today and get them down their path so they have healthy outcomes later.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, so much has happened in the last, I don't know how many weeks, 9, 10 weeks, but in the midst of all that, an event happened that happens, about every 2 years. And we usually have you on right afterwards because you're a resident expert on prevalence.
Yeah.
And the CDC came out and said new numbers, and we mentioned it briefly on the show, meant to have you on sooner, and a whole lot of poo hit the fan.
Yeah.
So thrilled to have you here. We still need to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's not going away.
Nope.
So talk to us. Give us the skinny, because you're our expert on it.
Well, I got sick right afterwards, but it wasn't COVID, so that's why you didn't get me. Still got the cough, but it's something different. So the number is 1 in 54 that came out, and there's a cool little chart from the ADDM, and that's the Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring Network, or ADDM for short. All these cool little acronyms and names that we can have. TACA was established in 2000 as well as this group. Dr. Walter Zahudny out of Rutgers University is just one of my most favorite people in the whole world. And I keep telling my husband I may leave him for Walter. Please don't let that get out. Just kidding. He's an incredible researcher, and he's led the charge on this. And we're about 3% now of kids in the United States who have autism. It's worse in Jersey by far. But the chart that we have on the birth year, they talk about, it takes quite some time for the CDC and this group to look at the 11 sites, do the survey and analysis on 8-year-olds and 4-year-olds. And the last number for 8-year-olds came out 1 in 54. The 4-year-olds, the number, it's hard to justify that because we know many people don't get their kid diagnosed until they're in school.
Yeah.
That number is not improving. In fact, that number, the learn the signs movement to get people diagnosed earlier is actually, the timelines increased, not decreased. So it's 178% increase since 2000. It's a 10% increase in 2 years. And it's just too many kids. And with what's going on in our world, and I'm not going to complain, but I do think autism is important. It barely was a blip on the radar. I mean, here we are with the largest developmental disability, and it is a disability for about 95% of those living with autism, and that label that are diagnosed by professionals. So I'm deeply concerned, and we've got to get people to care. So any ideas, Shannon?
Oh my God. Right. Like, and if I even thought about having an idea, I would run to you because you would have had the idea 10 years before. It's sometimes it takes my breath away. And I gotta say, you know, we have a viewer, a lovely viewer, Johanny, who wrote in and said, "Woohoo, Lisa Ackerman, ladies, I need to tell you, I'm getting really tired being mom, realtor, therapist, and first grade teacher help." So I, you know, and I wanted to say that because I was just about to say I get really tired sometimes, and I don't have a right to, because you know, moms like that are in the thick of it.
Yeah.
You know, but it does feel like Mount Everest sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just when I think, gosh, you know, we're never going to get there, something will happen. And I'll go, oh, okay, that's an inroad. And I have to say that the example that I'm going to point to is somebody that you love and that I love, Kobe Bird.
Oh, I love Kobe.
Right?
He's my guy.
And last fall? I'm trying to think because it seems like
that was October last year that he
October. You do conferences every spring and every fall. Yeah, and you had your fall conference, mm-hmm. and you had the foresight. You had asked him, like, I don't know, like 2 years before to be the keynote speaker at your conference. And this is a crazy large conference, you guys. This is not some 35 people. This is, you know, what, 10,000 people. It was, or not. I don't know.
1,400. Let's not get crazy.
1,400. Okay. Like I get it exact. So 1,400 people in a ballroom, everybody buzzing, exciting. And this 17-year-old young man on the spectrum got up and spoke for how long, Lisa?
He spoke for over an hour, and I'm trying to find the picture of him and I couldn't be more proud of this kid. And I think the most interesting part of it, he was on The Good Doctor was 2 years ago. And it was so interesting because I retweeted that he was on The Good Doctor. And quite frankly, I lost sight of this tall, mostly man child. I knew him when he was a lot younger and met him, I think, in 2006 at the Taka family picnic. And I was just laughing that he shared that after I retweeted him that Taka changed his life.
Yes.
And I was blown away, and then I had to get reacquainted with Rachel. And then I'm like, oh my God, of course.
That's his mom, and his mom is incredible. One of my best friends. And she says that, you know, you changed their lives because she went to that Taka picnic and that it was everything to her.
Yeah. And I'm so blown away by his transformation and just getting comfortable in his own skin. And my son Jeff had a very similar response to theater. You know, if you gave him a script, he'd kill it every day. Mm-hmm. He would be just having the best time. I'm multitasking, and I know you probably love that I'm doing that.
No. I'm the same way because it's a great picture. I know it's a great picture.
I want that picture. But of course now I'm lame as Captain Lame Sauce.
I love you so much.
For an hour, and I had people come up to me and say that was perhaps one of their most favorite presentations because he was so real. He talked about being bullied. He talked about his struggles. He talked about how his mom helped him overcome things and lifted him up when he was down. And then he turned it around and lifted his mom up on days, and just really it was so touching and so sweet and so honest. And
Yes.
he's just the epitome of a real sweetheart. Someone
Yeah.
who really just became a really amazing human, and
Yes.
sharing his story. So I'm so proud of him.
And I'm proud of you because you're a part of his story, Lisa, and made it possible for him and his family to do, you know, to get the help that they needed, which was an important step on their way to him now being someone who has the microphone. You know, he is, you know, killing it over on Lock and Key on Netflix, which if you guys haven't watched, you need to watch.
Oh my
But
God, it's so amazing.
But he does red carpets, and he's speaking, and there he was on your stage. And I was so proud of you, because I gotta say, Lisa, I don't know very many people who like walk their talk like you do. You were like, no, I'm gonna give the stage to a young man, not even an adult, like close. He's turning 18 this month, but he was 17 then.
Yeah.
And for you to be like, you know, yes, he's gonna get the stage for an hour. And I was like, now that takes some guts on his part and on your part. And man, did it pay off in spades, because we were riveted. I was in the audience. We were riveted the entire time, that whole audience, standing ovation. And everybody was sobbing, tears of joy. And I don't know, that's what gives me hope that we are going to get there. Because of people like you and people like him. We're going to, and now there's a whole host of people that are paying attention that weren't before, because there's, you know, they're seeing our young people. I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you. I know, because it was great. It was great what you did. Your conferences are always amazing. And I just want to say to people that, you know, you need to get to their conferences. And I know that you're going to be doing conferences again, and whether you do them online or whatever for a period of time, people need to go. You will get your batteries refreshed, plus you'll learn a whole bunch.
Yeah.
It takes me months to process the things.
Well, I think I attribute this quote to Magic Johnson. I really hope he said it, but if you get the right help and you have the hope, you can be anything. And Kobe's a testament to that. And his mom worked really hard. He worked harder than he needed to, but he did. And he still credits being gluten-free, casein-free, and having the medical support and the homeschooling and the individualized therapy that helped him overcome a lot of obstacles. And it was just so sweet, because he's like, these are the things I'm still working on.
Yep.
And these are the things that I want to do with my life. And I love acting, and just to see him be so excited. And when Netflix released Lock and Key, you know, I was at first in line to watch the whole thing, and we binged it at our house, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And there he was.
I know, working,
Right.
just working and being amazing. I gotta say too, because I guess this is the first time I've had you on since then, which seems crazy. It was great to hear him speak. He's an amazing speaker. But I'll tell you what I loved as much was that afterwards you got up on stage and led him in a series of questions, which was really wonderful. And then because you're brilliant, you got his mom up on stage. And, you know, I happen to know that
Rachel was thrilled with me because I gave her like a 2-minute notice. I'm like,
well, and I was sitting next to her, and I think that she was like, what? But then she got up there, and I was so glad, because I happen to know her as being like a brilliant person and a brilliant mom. And I was so glad that you did that. For so many reasons, but I loved that people got to hear where she was coming from, which I think is remarkable. So you're brilliant. And thank you for giving everybody that opportunity, because I think it was good for all of us. So I could just wax poetic about you forever. But let's talk a little bit about TACA. I imagine that there are people that are watching that don't know that much about TACA, and they should. And they should know why it helped Kobe, and why it helped me, and why it helped my kid, and why it helped his mom. Talk to us.
it's our 20th anniversary this year. We had a whole 20th anniversary thing we were going to do, but COVID kind of threw that out the window for a little bit. Our goal is to provide education, support, and hope to families living with autism. So we serve over 72,000. We're adding on average 600 new people every month. Our vision for people living with autism is like what with Kobe and what my son's doing, for every individual diagnosed with autism to lead an independent and fantastic life. I always add that in. So we're in 32 states now, right, well, all 50 virtually, of course, but physically we have an army of almost 2,000 volunteers that are just the most caring, awesome humans on the planet. They lift you up, they kick you on the bottom when you need it, and they tell you what you can do to help make a difference in your kid's life today. And I'm honored to stand with them every day.
Yeah.
I know.
I gotta say, anytime I go anywhere that's autism related, I always look for where is the TACA group. You can always recognize them, even if they weren't all wearing t-shirts that said TACA, because they're the people having the most fun, right? And they're the people who look like they're the most comfortable in their skin because they know where they are, they know who they are, they know who they're with. And, I love the whole tribe mentality part of autism. And if you feel like you're missing out on it, you need to join yourself to TACA, where you can feel the love and feel the community and lean into a safety net that's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Thank you. And I think the thing that the reason why you see those ladies and gentlemen just lifted up and smiling and purposeful, they're hopeful. They have tools and they want to share that information. They're all about pay it forward, turn around, help the family next to you, and make sure you make a difference not only in your own life, but in the person in your community that needs you too.
Yeah.
So and that's why it's energy, energy begets energy. And when you have that energy in the room, it's really unstoppable.
Yeah. And you guys have done so many things over the years. You've really looked at what the community needed and presented. It's a body of work, Lisa. I mean, 20 years, you got to be, you're not done. I know you're not done, but you've already left a legacy that is large. Even if I just look at your journey guides, I know that's not what you call them. What do you call them?
They're journey guides.
Journey
you
guides.
hit the nail
Okay.
on the head. You did good.
And
there, I could go grab it.
well, describe for people, because there might be people that don't know about them and haven't taken the time to make sure that they can get one.
Yeah, we have Autism Journey Guide, and it's over a 200-page tool, and it's everything you need to know right at the start of your journey, or at the beginning, middle, or halfway through, whatever. But it's everything that you should know about, the diagnostic criteria, where your kid fits in that, the learning tools, the dietary intervention. Food is medicine, 100% food is medicine. The medical pieces. If I could just pause on the medical for just a moment, there's 50 abstracts on average coming out each week prior to COVID. I don't know what it is now. I haven't been able to look at the science piece, but new treatments, new exciting things that are changing the world and the direction, and the coexisting medical issues. And I hate to geek on it for a moment, but the average number the average number of diagnoses per kid with autism is 5. And a lot of those diagnoses, like for my guy, gastrointestinal, which is ileitis, mitochondrial dysfunction, metabolic conditions, sleep disorders, just a myriad of issues, and cerebral folate autoimmunity. So, I mean, that was before I got to the auditory processing, apraxia, and just reading comprehension disorder, which is a real thing. So he had 8 that I can recall right now. A lot of them are in the history books, which is great. So I know with treatments and what have you, things can get better. And then there's Going back to the guide, see, I can circle back. There's also the legal aspects, so you can understand the rights law with regards to, you know, school. And then, of course, when becoming an adult, what you can do to help protect your child that may need your help, and then support. So it's really just a great tool. We're grateful to the American Legion Foundation. They print our guides for us every year. And last year we gave out close to 5,000 of them. So you get them free at our events or $5 on our website.
There you go. So let's talk about your website, because I got to say, you know, I mean, I made a decision many years ago that I was going to host shows and interview people and do all that so that people could find this information. But, you know, I've been hosting shows about autism for over 10 years. I'm never going to scratch the surface of the information that is on the TACA website. And I am humbled by that. And I want you to know that I refer people all the time and say, if you want it, like, the place that has the most information is the TACA website. I don't know how you do that, but it's a thing of beauty. How do we get there?
It's not one person anymore. There's 20 people that are at TACA that work, and then there's 2,000 volunteers. So it's a constant effort. And this year we're doing a complete refresh to everything on the website. And we've gone through about 40 articles and they've been completely redone. So like sleep has been updated. Gastrointestinal issues have been updated. All of the learning tools, and then the newly added COVID homeschooling tips and tricks. So like, for example, the reading comprehension. If you're concerned about reading comprehension, there's a whole how-to section plus books and introduce reading comprehension. So the kid who was in the 0 percentile, I think we first tested him for reading comprehension in second grade. It was 0 percentile. And then third grade, 1%, fourth grade, 1%. So, I mean, it didn't change and get into double digits until he was in high school. Wow. It was still at 11%. This kid just finished his junior year college finals with an A average and can write 20-page papers and take tests that make me cry. Like, he doesn't ask me for help with his homework because he knows all I can do is cook dinner and provide humor. I'm not going to assist him in any way, stretch of the imagination, with any help on his homework. I usually just walk over and go, "Oh, that sucks. Good luck," and walk away. He had to take world religion, and he was telling me about Taoism. I'm like, okay. What do you like about Taoism? And he was able to go and tell me all about Taoism.
Wow.
Is that like Hinduism? Cool. And he's like, no.
Wow.
Sorry, no disrespect to anyone watching, but the point being is he educates me every day.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So where is the website? And then I'm going to go over some of the comments people are writing.
TACAnow.org, TACA now.org. If you can read backwards. Yeah, I should always fix that, but yeah, I'm not smart. So TACAnow.org, and there's different sections, the medical section, the diet section, there's a newly diagnosed section, there's a learning, a resource section, and pretty much it's grouped by the categories you're going to look. And the good old search bar is a great place to start if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, you could spend, the rest of this isolation just reading what's on that website to get from end to end. And it'd be worth it. You'd learn a lot. So check it out. It's free. Like, instead of just keeping going, looking all over the internet, trying to find answers, we just gave you the shortcut. There you go. There's the wormhole. TACAnow.org. So somebody says, Lisa, I've tried connecting with your local group in Pennsylvania, but it's over an hour away. Yeah. What are the chances more will pop up? So maybe there might be something closer.
Yeah, I would love to put a chapter by every Starbucks, but it dictates on having the right amount of volunteers per geography. And so what I would suggest, we're not building new chapters during COVID, but I would start the process and become a mentor. If you become a mentor, then get 3 other volunteers to work with you, then come to us and say you're considering doing a new chapter. But right now there's a lot of virtual things. We're doing 2 chapter meetings a month virtually. The next one coming up is social skills. So she doesn't need to drive an hour. She can just turn on her computer and learn about social skills. So we're doing 2 virtual chapter meetings every month. The last one was on nonverbal, preverbal children. One before that was presuming competence. So there's just a lot of great tools, but the next one is teaching social skills, and it's a great session.
Where will they find the way into that?
If you go to the TACA website, there's going to be takanow.org, find a meeting. Find the meeting, there's got the virtual meeting box, and it's social skills, and you can click on that and it will connect you. The nice part is it will connect you to your local chapter. So when we start kicking off post-COVID, it will connect you to the place you can go. And the other thing I would encourage any family that is a half hour, an hour drive, is it's worth it. If it's once a month, you're going to get together. Don't be afraid of your car. Dive in your car. Shannon, you've even come to meetings. So
I have, and they're wonderful.
Come on now. So, and just take the time, carve it out, make it a thing, grab a couple of people, throw them in your car and get there. You'll be happy you did.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. Okay, we have another person who says hello from Scranton. The Pennsylvania contingent is strong today.
Yeah.
Hello from Koyanfig. And Christina is saying good morning to both of us. April, hello from Dubai. I have a nonverbal 17-year-old boy. Do we, she says, I have a okay, let me try again. Retool, right? I have a nonverbal 17-year-old, and boy, do we still have a long way to go. But you know, I quote you all the time, Lisa. I did it yesterday, that I always say to people, as my friend Lisa Ackerman from TACA says, when somebody says autism, it's not game over, it's
game on.
That's right.
Game on. And for that 17-year-old, I would tell you the oldest person that went from 0 talking that I'm aware of at TACA is 27.
There we go.
0 words to talking. And basically, it's always unique to the individual. I'm not saying there's a map that works 100% of the time, 100% in the same way for every person. But in the case of this adult with autism, there were seizures, mitochondrial issues, and cerebral folate deficiency. All of them standard labs that were done. And the individual received therapies that made such a huge difference. And the one thing that just drives me bonkers, I mean, there's like 87,000 things that drive me bonkers, but for the people living with autism that are pre-verbal at any age, often their doctor did not order a 24-hour EEG. A 20-minute one at age 2.5 or 4 or whatever is not appropriate. In fact, my son has had 2 EEGs, both clean. I would recommend 3 EEGs minimum at time of diagnosis, first brain pruning, ages 6 to 8 at puberty, and 1 for good measure if you want in their 20s. We'll probably do another one just to make sure. Abnormal brain waves and epilepsy are so extremely common. And for our pre-verbal kiddos, that is perhaps one of the most overlooked areas, and that's just something we can do that will make a big difference.
Well, I so appreciate that, and I have to be honest with you and tell you that you have been, there are several things that you have told me over and over and over again, and I go, and then I don't necessarily listen. And then I find out that you were always right. Yes, I know. Listen, I remember being at a conference with you and you were like, Shannon, you're allergic to milk. And I was like, no, I'm really not, Lisa. I'm not. And then, 6 months later, I found out I was allergic to milk. And you were like, and I was like, and even if I was allergic to milk, there wouldn't be things that I could eat. My child is on a diet, a casein-free diet, but I can't do it. And you were like, yes, you can. And I was like, I can't live without yogurt. And you were, and I was like, no, I can't do that. And Lisa was right. Lisa's always right.
Not always, but thank you.
and I, you know, with another good friend, I have heard you talk about the EEG thing before. Mm-hmm. The problem that I had was that I couldn't get his doctors to agree to it. Now tell me, what is the secret? Because I have seen with the friend that it, you know, knock on wood, it didn't end up that thus far, mm-hmm. we have not seen anything where we would have been like, oh, we should have had that before. Yeah. But the friend, it has not been the case. And almost to the point of life and death, wishing that they had that. So what do we say to parents when because I did ask and the doctor was like, oh, it's so unnecessary. There's no need, you know, he's not showing any signs of that. There's no need to order it. And so I didn't push. Yeah, whack. Yeah, I know.
That's where your local chapter really comes handy.
Okay.
So if I were stuck and I was like, let's say in Miami, Florida, Gloria and Catherine, they're the most amazing. I mean, they're all amazing, but love these girls. I would click on find a chapter, click on email, and say, hey, I need to find a neurologist that doesn't suck in your area. They would connect you then to somebody that actually cares and follows the American Academy of Pediatric Standards of Care for Autism to help you define. In fact, there's a place, Rossignol Medical Center, that's just 1 hour north of that area that has ambulatory EEGs covered by insurance. You basically go in there. They have literally put the cap on thousands and thousands of kids and adults. They put it on, you wear it for 24 hours, and then the next morning you take it off. And it is unbelievably easy. You don't have to go in hospital. And what a great time to do it now. They're open now. So wow. You basically can get an EEG to bed.
All right. So, I love that. Listen to Lisa, not me.
Yeah, but I mean, so what I would do is if there's international resources. So if you go for the lady in Dubai with the 17-year-old, she can type up there international at the search bar, find resources that are in that geography. And there are some good functional medicine doctors that actually care, follow the standards of care, and look above and beyond the standards of care to figure out what's going on with that individual.
And, you know, as much as this period of time is not what anybody would choose, there have been some, you know, things that have happened that are good. And right now, telehealth in the United States, right. they've relaxed everything. So even if there's a doctor that you've been just wanting to get together, but they're in Florida and you're not, right? You can do telehealth right now and get a lot done.
Well, like I said, Dr. Rossignol in his office, he's got 5 doctors from all over the country is doing telehealth. Scourin is doing telehealth. I mean, these are all people that had a 6-month wait list, and for whatever reason now you can get in sooner than later and do telemedicine. Highly recommend it. And the paperwork, it does take a little bit of time, but get it in there, give them the tools and the history so they can be the best help to your family and to that individual living with autism.
There you go. Now, somebody else says, I need TACA help very much. And they were asking, where is the Pennsylvania meeting? I spend all day and night on TACA, but maps and labs are so expensive. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, let's definitely. We have, well, let's be clear. Not one meeting is happening right now in communities. We can't, based on COVID. And kids with autism, most of them are immunocompromised. If it's not the kid, it's the family. So the meetings are not happening right now, but we have our virtual meetings. So to answer specifically that question, I would go to find a meeting, click on the virtual meeting and attend all of those meetings right now. There's 2 a month. You can do it your leisure. You log in, you get a code, you watch and participate, you get your questions answered. Now, for labs and what have you and medical appointments, What I would recommend is there's a document on the website, how to prepare for your doctor's appointment, and also how to do autism on a budget. Those two things are up and available. So most of the labs that Scourin and Rosignol and Usman and all of these different really great clinicians are recommending through Quest and LabCorp. So if you have insurance, it's going to cover most of your labs with just whatever your deductible is. What I would suggest, and where I see families fall apart a little bit, is they use their functional medicine doctor sometimes as a marriage and family therapist. And I'm totally guilty of that. I have done that. I really recommend that you get your game plan on with your spouse, significant other the night before. You go in with your hit list. You have 20 seconds of niceties, compliment the shoes and the hair, and then move on. And then get through your list with precision, not like a military function, but close, where you get in and get out. If you do it right, you will spend 2 hours a year with your physician. If you have a more complex kid, it may take 3 hours. But I've seen families that are spending 10, 15 hours with their physician, and that's because the organization can be tightened up. The marriage and family therapy could be done cheaper somewhere else. And just go in ready to go, ready to have your mission resolved. So I would really recommend, instead of birthday gifts, more plastic and crap, ask for your family to donate to your child's medical fund. And
Yeah.
I'm from a big family for years. We were able to have everyone donate to the 2 visits we were doing and a couple of emails for follow-up. And it made the biggest difference in his life. And you could waste a lot of time with someone who's not reading the latest research or not following the standards of care from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Sorry.
No, what are you sorry for? That's all.
Well, I could go on for an hour on that one. And again, I'm saying I've made every one of these mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm old enough to remember when your phone in your home,
Yeah.
If you had to dial long distance, you got charged by the minute.
Yeah.
And so if you made a long distance phone call, you only covered what you had to cover and you got off the phone.
Yeah.
Or you got this ginormous bill. You need to think of these doctors that are expensive the exact same way.
So,
you're paying by the minute.
Yeah. And I think the one area that in the how to prepare for your medical appointment, I always try to remind people, what are the 5 things you're trying to address right now? And tell me about the things, or to the doctor, not me, but tell us about the things that have worked for your kid and the things that sucked, that didn't do anything, that had a negative effect. If you give them the full medical history and your issues you want to address and those things that worked and did not work, that gives them a much better toolkit for understanding what exactly to do for your kid. And it makes such a big difference.
There's also the TACA mentors that if
Correct.
you use your TACA mentor properly, that's going to help you and cut down on costs, because you're not going to be calling the doctor every 5 seconds to ask them something that a mentor could answer for you.
So the virtual, again, I'm talking COVID time right now. So with the meetings on pause, go to the virtual meetings, get a free TACA mentor, join our Hope and Help group. It's a Facebook group. It's a private community. We're going to provide a link to that in the notes, which there's 11,000 people plus on that community right now. And they're asking anywhere from 10 to 30 questions a day that are universal, that can help so many people. And so if you're afraid to ask a question, just watch the questions coming through, search the, comments and the different topics from previous posts. And it's so incredibly helpful. We also have a helpline here when people call here, or you can email us support@takanow.org. And there are multiple ways to get your question answered: mentor, Hope and Help, support.
And I gotta say, you have to get over the idea that you're supposed to be able to afford this all by yourself.
Yeah.
You have to let go of that, and that you can do this all by yourself, right? I don't know a single person. I love that years ago, Holly Robinson Pete wrote a blog and said, here are the 8 things that people should know about autism. Number 1, no one can afford it. No one. And she knows Oprah. So if she, says no one can afford it, then no one can afford it.
Yeah.
So, I certainly had to get help and had a fundraiser, and then had a friend do a fundraiser.
Yeah.
And, there are grants. There are ways. Ask other TACA members, how did you pay for this? And you'll hear a wide variety of things, and you can go, okay, well then I can do this, I can do that. All right, we have a bunch of questions, but I want to make, what's that?
We have several moms. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, you go.
I want to do a shout out. So many different single moms that give food stamps that are doing all the stuff that I'm describing. They don't have a no that they're going to listen to. They are going to drive a solution, and I am floored and honored every day to see them. They find a way. And if you are lost and don't know what to, let us help you find that way.
Absolutely. Now I have a bunch of questions that I want to get to as many of them as I can, but I also want to make sure that we cover, because you had a list of things that we were going to cover. We talked about one. What else is on our list while I'm getting these questions?
So we talked about the numbers. Blah.
So
we have webinars that are held at a specific date and time. And the next one that's coming up on May 7th is on anxiety. And it's all the tips and tricks. And we have multiples that are coming up following that. And those are at least 2 to 3 times a month. We have our Facebook Lives like you. And on the View side, there's quite a few. So that we've done occupational therapy, adaptive PE, music therapy, managing your IEP during COVID. All of these videos are still available. And I think over 70,000 have clicked or viewed or something along those lines. But you can go and look at those. And we're going to be doing another one coming up on behaviors and routines, managing difficult behaviors and routines during COVID. So the virtual chapter meetings are twice a month. We set up a topic for 2 weeks, and you can log in anytime in your pajamas or yoga pants. That's really funny. Before COVID, I didn't have any yoga pants. I've solved that problem. I now have 3. So there's the virtual meetings. Then there's the support questions. So the support email, phone, but more importantly, the Hope and Help group, which I can't stress enough, especially if you're someone who doesn't like to put yourself out there and ask a lot of questions. You want to learn from other people. It's the greatest group and the most giving folks. And it's got a lot of tools there to support you, managed by some great folks.
And we're going to be putting the links to those in the chats on the different sites. So be looking for that.
We have a COVID toolkit, a homeschooling toolkit, and there's even how to get your kid to wear a mask in public, social story, visuals, etc. So, I mean, everything that you want to know about COVID, but we're afraid to ask, and it's being updated regularly. So if you saw it when we launched it on March 13th, it's been significantly updated and read thousands of times since. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, are you kidding me? This is all so good. But I'm going to venture back to the questions.
Yes.
For the reading comprehension, do you think it's ever too late to start?
No, it's never too late.
Right? She says he uses Proloquo to go to request. Unfortunately, insurance covers nothing here, and it's just expensive to do anything extra.
Well, what I would do is there is a great nonverbal toolkit, pre-verbal. I like to say pre-verbal toolkit because I'm very hopeful on the website. So if you just type in verbal at the search, it's in the learning toolkit, but it will give you all of the things you can be doing at home that doesn't cost money and what have you. So reading comprehension, what I did is I went out and bought books. Back in the day, Jeff was really hip to Blue's Clues. In fact, if there was a Blue's Clues Anonymous, he probably would have had to go to it. He had every notebook and paw print. And anyway, so point being is I don't mean make light, but that's the way we do it here at Talkaland. We were able to buy those books, learn through teaching at home and with our ABA team to really break down the instruction. It was, what color is the dog? That's starting reading comprehension. What's the book about? What's the title of the book? And be prepared to, I'm going to ask you questions about the book. And it's a whole how-to, again, self-directed. In fact, that article I think I wrote, God, 150 years ago, feels like now, but you can do those two things. And so for that mom, I would go and look up the verbal toolkit, which is all free, and type in comprehension as the second search to find the toolkit, and just presume competence and move forward. And if it's not working, find a different way. Don't try the same thing over and over. Try to find the motivation for your kid and try to find a different way about approaching it. Speaking louder doesn't always necessarily get that point across, and I'm again guilty of that.
Been there, done that.
Sorry.
Somebody wrote in and said, I still can't live without gluten and dairy. I feel you, Shannon, LOL. I need to do it too, and I'm frozen in the headlights. I just want to say to you that, I've been gluten-free for decades because I have a wheat allergy, but I am now dairy-free for, 6 years now. It's such a bummer. It's such a, I miss my yogurt. I miss my cold and creamy. I also, because I went, because you said to me, I'm allergic, I went and I got the test, and I was pretty sure it was going to come back. But the thing that really, this is how the conversation went. They called me and they were like, we need to talk to you about several things that you're allergic to. I was like, yeah, okay. And they went, well, first of all, you're allergic to beef and pork. And I went, okay, doesn't matter. I don't eat beef or pork. And they went, oh, okay. Well, a lot of times people are hysterical when they hear that. And I said, no. And they said, well, you're allergic to milk. And I was like, oh, okay. Lisa's right. And then she said the horrible thing. She goes, oh, and you are allergic to bananas and need to stop eating bananas right away. And I went, no, not my bananas. And she went, boy, this conversation did not go how I thought it was going to go. Right?
I was so happy. My allergy panel came back. I was allergic to kale. Score!
Oh my goodness. How do you get that? I want that. But everything. Oh, no kale.
Your advantage.
No kale for Lisa. Poor thing, you. I love all vegetables, but kale is a little bit on the fence there.
Yeah.
But if you go to the Taka site and go to the diet section, you can find all the different ways that you can be gluten-free and dairy-free. And I have to tell you, on our website, Lisa hosted recipes for us. We called it What's Left. And she makes some of the best things in the world. You won't want the dairy and the gluten. You won't even notice that you're missing them. And there's everything. There's, you want to make a main dish, you want to make a side dish, you want to make a dessert, because she's an amazing good cook. And your child was gluten-free, dairy-free. And so Jeff would, you tell it, but Jeff would say, I want you to make X, Y, or Z, right?
Yeah, the son of a biscuit, watching TV. He saw a major pizza company advertise a calzone. And he looked at me and he's like, I want that. I'm like, son of a, but I made it. We call it a pizzone. So that's also on there. And basically, my son would come to me and say, look, I really want to try that, or whatever that is. And we would find a way to reverse engineer it from Betty Crocker to whatever. But point being is, I know personally, I used to get sick 7 to 8 times a year. I was at least 25 pounds heavier. And I had trouble sleeping. I was going to the doctor more often, taking antibiotics more often. Doesn't mean my health is perfect today, but I have less chronic health issues. I like to say I'm a lot lighter in my steps now than I was. So I feel like it's just been a healthier adjustment. And both my husband and I say on a regular basis, Jeff probably saved our health as well.
There you go. I want to give a shout out to the person who wrote to us from Brazil, from Sao Paulo. They want us to know that they are Japanese and that the person says, I am autism, and says, sorry, my English is not what I would like, but they like this live show. And so we're so thrilled that you are here. Yay. Somebody wrote it in, said that they have a 2-year-old and 10 months who's on the autism spectrum. And he lines up whatever he can get a hold of and keeps watching it, but not when he is stressed. What kind of sensory input is he seeking from it?
You know, whenever I see kids lining up, they're just trying to organize their world and do something that they can have control over. And often any type of repetitive movement or repetitive gesture like that, I want to find out what's going on, both medically and then employing some applied behavioral analysis, ABA. We want to find ways to show, play, give appropriate tools, and take that to a constructive place so they can learn and have observational learning and what have you. So I think for a kid who's lining up, I also want to look to co-infections like yeast, strep. There's a lot of different things. And again, it's not every kid, everything the same way, but I know that when my kid got more vocally stimmy and OCD, compulsive on a cupboard being open and shut 3 times before he walked by it, going the same way home from school, things like that. Almost always there was something of an overgrowth that could be easily tested and treated. The applied behavioral analysis just helped teach the skills that, kids want to learn. Once they learn it, then they can acquire these other things that they're going to need for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Somebody wants to know, are teachers welcome in TACA? This individual teaches K through 3 with students with autism.
Absolutely.
So come on down. They want you.
We love anytime. In fact, teachers who want to come and hang out with us, we love it. We worship our we surely miss our teachers right now.
Don't we? Hasn't everybody realized how much they should be being paid right now?
Well, there's that one meme. You lied. My kid is not a delight to have in school. That was my favorite.
I love it. Our guest from yesterday, Maya, wants to know, actually that might be a different Maya, I'm not sure. They want to know, they say, I know that there are people on the spectrum who can't wear a mask due to the itchiness, but there are different masks, right?
Yeah, there's a whole set. Again, there are masks that the CDC recommends that will protect you. And then there's the mask that will allow you to walk in a store. I found, again, the N95, I'm not the CDC, but the N95s are the ones that give you the most protection from viruses and bacteria. The other masks that are out there that allow you to get in the store mostly protect other people from you, not people to you. So I'm a big fan, and people laugh at me. We have a friend who made a bathing suit company, Productive, and they've made bathing suit company masks. And I find this one is less irritating, but again, it's not going to protect you from viruses and bacteria, but it's easier for kids on the autism spectrum to walk in and do things. And you can put an extra layer of protection in there, but we have a whole, on the TACA Facebook page, social story on how to wear a mask, why to wear a mask, what's going on with the mask. But this just seemed so much easier to tolerate because it's a nylon material and washable.
There we go. Somebody wants to know, why is it important to do the EEG at puberty if there hasn't been any signs of seizures? My son hasn't ever had one because doctors have told me not needed, which I think most doctors are going to tell us not needed. Now, Lisa's going to break out into hives and not from a mask or kale.
Okay, so the brain goes through a lot of changes over time. And just because, let's say you did one 24-hour EEG at the time of diagnosis, like 4 or 5 years of age, the brain goes through a major change at the first brain pruning, typically ages 6 to 8. Again, not a neurologist. And then another major change at puberty. So there are people that have had two clean EEGs, and that just means at that point in time, we did not capture any abnormal brainwave activity or epilepsy. But often what we have found is seizures almost always seem to be right around puberty and continue on into their 20s. So if, hypothetically speaking, you had 2 24-hour EEGs early on, you want to do another one at puberty. And the reason, and again, I'm not here to scare you, I'm just going to share, you know, there are reasons why we do EEGs on kids with autism, because they are more susceptible to things like SUDEP, and that's sudden unexplained death from epilepsy. We do not want that to happen. And what I have found from a hopeful way is often when we find and see abnormal brainwaves or epilepsy in an EEG and we treat it, we see kids take off academically, verbally, cognitively. So there's 2 reasons why you really, really should do it. One, you may see an improvement in everything to do with your kids' autism, learning disabilities, language, etc. 1. 2, you protect them from any issues that can happen. And again, I don't know why. The science doesn't explain why kids with autism who have epilepsy or abnormal brainwaves, why they're 6 times more likely to die from a seizure than a kid just with epilepsy. So I don't know why. I just want to fix and I want to address. So those are the 2 reasons why you want to do it.
And I just got to say, the friend that, you know, did not take your advice with me, and, you know, their child had the first seizure at about 16 years old. And it was a very scary thing. But then 6 months later had the seizure where they stopped breathing. And because the first seizure happened, they were more aware and the doctors were more aware, although they, you know, I will tell you with the first seizure, a lot of times they're like, well, we'll wait and see if there's another one. So fortunately, this person now is on medication and is doing so much better than they were before. But I know that that mom is like, maybe this is why we didn't, you know, get, like there were things that we just kept hitting a wall and why we couldn't get past them. And there's a lot of regret.
Well, I would tell that mom, you know, your woulda, coulda, shoulda just doesn't count. It's today.
No,
make a difference today.
But I will say for people today, like this is why you should listen to Lisa, because Lisa's smart and Lisa knows what she's talking about.
I would love to be wrong on this topic.
I know.
Love to be the wrongest of wrong. I would love for children with autism or adults to never experience seizures. But I mean, abnormal brainwaves are probably over 70% right now. It depends on what study you want to look at. And if we can normalize that, learning happens, conversations happen, healing happens, therapies that you're putting in your kid and every day doing start to make more progress. So please.
Yeah, get the EEG. Okay, we're totally out of time. I told you we were not going to have enough time, and I meant it, and it was.
How did that happen?
I know, an hour just swung by, and I just can't thank you enough, Lisa, for all the work that you do, and for being just an awesome example of a person who cares and a mom who cares, and what you've been able to do for our community is just breathtaking. I hope you have the best Mother's Day. I know that it is not what it would have been if we weren't in this current isolation situation, but I hope that it is still the most wonderful. You deserve it. You're part of our salute to moms this week. You're amazing. Again, go to takanow.org to be hooked up with all of the things that Lisa was talking about. It's there. Become a member. Sign up and become a member of TACA so that you get all the benefits of that and learn everything that you can, but be a part of that tribe. You'll never, ever be sorry. Lisa, thank you. Give our love to everybody there, okay?
And happy Mama's Day to you, Shannon. You're awesome. Adore you.
I adore
Mama's
you.
Day to everyone out there.
Yes.
Whatever you're dealing with, this too shall pass. So hang tight.
That's right.
Hang tight.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow with Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Grampiche will be here. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now, you guys.
Bye.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. Dina, you can unmute now.
I did. I'm sorry, I was trying. I'm glad no one could hear me. I was laughing so hard with your purple pink puppet.
We got to keep it real. So I'm Shannon Penrod and we're coming to you live from a lot of different locations. We're coming to you live from my house. Dina, where are you?
I'm actually in my office. I'm in my office. Nice.
You're like a crazy working woman.
What can we do? What can we do, right?
That's right. Well, and I'm working too, but I'm working totally from home. And our producer is coming from a third location because we're observing that distance. We're way more than 6 feet apart. But I am so excited because it's Mother's Day week. And it was really important to me this week to have some of the mothers that I find the most inspirational on the show. And there is Dina Kimmel for a very good reason. I don't know if everybody knows, but they call you Mama D because you are a little bit everybody's mom. You are an amazing mom. And you are an amazing advocate in our autism community. And of course, you are the founder and CEO of an amazing place for all of our kids. I'm talking about the We Rock the Spectrum kids gyms, and which are all over the place now. How many places are your gyms in now, Dina?
Oh Lord, I guess it's a good sign when you don't know how many. We're in 90. We're in 90 locations, and soon to be, within the next couple months, 100. As we just partnered with a great family who's going to be opening them all over the Middle East and as well as the states here that we don't have gyms in. So we're going to be in 50 states within the next 24 months.
Wow. Well, and what's fun is that I remember when you had one gym and you were like, well, maybe someday we'll get to 15. And then I blinked. It was like 3 seconds later and you had 27. And now you're at 90. You're a crazy woman. And these gyms are amazing. Take a second to talk a little bit about what people can find at the gyms, Dina.
Well, I have to first say that I have to be honest with you. And you asked for me to be on the show today. It didn't even dawn on me. Hello, it's Mother's Day weekend. I've been so consumed in being, as you said, the Mama D to my own children and the franchise and keeping everything going that, thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's right back at you. You're an incredible mother and have been my mentor since I started this, 10 years ago. So I'm very appreciative of your generous and kind words. But yes, here we are now, started in 2009, and I can't believe it. We Rock's 10-year anniversary is the 1st of September. So,
wow.
Who would have thought now 10 years later, something that I started out of just this great need for my son in 2009, when he was diagnosed in our home, which has now become a gym again, by the way, with quarantine, right? And then some. Thank God for the outdoors and the beautiful weather right now. But here we are today. I can't believe I'm sitting across from the flagship gym, and yes, I'm very blessed because there's only 2 other people in the office right now. We're more than 12, 15 feet apart from one another. But I'll tell you something. I don't know about you, but I'm sure this quarantine has done a lot for, a lot of things, a lot of different things for many people. I think it's brought out the best in, I would say, the vast majority of us. And then, of course, our fears as well. And as long as you can't let that, fear take over you, I think that really we're coming out of this on top. But I would have never thought 10 years ago that I'd be sitting here talking to you. I was, working right now, on closing, my first lease in the Tarzana We Rock, and thought, oh my God, this is gonna be so incredible for Gabriel and for Sophia. And I don't have to go to, my clothing stores that I own. I could just be here every day and have Gabriel's therapy in the same, place where I work. And I don't care if I make even $1, just as long as I can be here and help the community and let the community see what being on this OT equipment every day can do. Because who can afford $150 an hour, right? 7 days, not me. So, you know what happened, the history. We opened up and 3 weeks later it blew up, and I never thought I'd be a franchisor, because what did I know about franchising? But always been a businesswoman. And when the need was there, it was more, this is first and foremost, this is about passion. This is about the children. It's about, yes, the inspiration of these two beautiful kids that my husband and I have, that's grown into, really helping and saving hundreds of thousands of people across the world. It's incredible. But I'll tell you, I've never been more proud of who we are than, look, I'll get emotional, than who we are today. This quarantine has just done really amazing things for the brand, for the mission of inclusion, realizing, what are we going to do? There I was. What are we going to do? What's going to happen?
Well, can I just interrupt you and say that it has always been my pleasure to know you. You have been a light. And from the first time that I ever met you, I was like, ooh, that's somebody I want to grow up to be like, because you're a mover and a shaker, and you don't settle for you're always moving, and you're always moving in the right direction, Dina. But as you said, this brings things out in people. And there have been a couple of people that I've kind of stood by and gone, whoa. Some people just went, oh, okay, well, then this is going to be a staycation and I'm going to go home. And, I guess I'll take a break for a couple of weeks, which has now turned into, a couple of months. But what I saw you do, because there were a lot of businesses that were sitting there and they were like, oh no, this is going to hurt my business. And a lot of gyms had to close. They closed their doors. And what I saw you do, I'm going to forever be in awe of you.
There's the garbage truck, by the way, in the background. So it's perfect timing. Sorry about that.
It is. No. I have helicopters that practically land on my house. So we just have accepted all of it. Okay. But so Dina, instead of saying, okay, well, we're just going to close our gyms, please tell everybody, I'm so proud of you. Oh, please tell everybody what you did.
You know me, I don't take those moments to go, oh my gosh, I can't believe what, myself and my family have put together. I don't have those moments. And I'm able to have, of course, we all are able to have so much time for reflection. But when this first hit, and as you know, the state of California was the first to close down entirely, it was a weekend. Okay. I was, basically on my own because my team is off on the weekends. Myself and my COO, Gail Field, we're on. We have this private owners group where we're always, you can't see my fingers here, but texting and, messaging people. And, but other than that, all of a sudden this happened. And I was like, oh my God, oh my gosh, what do we do? Wait, are we essential? Are we non-essential? I mean, I know we're essential for the special needs families, but what do we do? What do we do now? So there I was calling my attorney, talking to the Chamber of Commerce, and we were considered at that time non-essential. So all doors closed. Well, that didn't sit well with me. And I'm not going to lie, I had a very stressful weekend. I was helping owners. I was answering questions because the special needs community was freaking out. We can't keep our kids, especially you remember when your son was younger, like 9, stuck indoors for 2 months? Heck no. They become, our kids, as you know, they become aggressive. Kids that were never aggressive are becoming aggressive because they have no outlet, right?
And they got to work their yayas out.
I just love that word that you use. I love the yayas. I can't say it because you say it so perfectly, but yes. So I'm not going to lie. I'm sitting there for 48 hours the whole weekend. I was helping my owners, answer messages, panicked. It just seemed like my whole team was like away that weekend. So I couldn't get a hold of anybody. And Gail, my COO, had just had, a minor, surgery. And so I was literally on my own. I'm not going to lie. And that just doesn't happen anymore, right? You can't run a company like this, unless you have this amazing team like we have. So there I was on the couch taking a couple, hours cat naps. And I literally woke up and I went, our nonprofit. Well, as you know, we have a nonprofit called My Brother Rocks the Spectrum Foundation. And I said, I need to turn this franchise into an essential business. What am I going to do? So I called up one of my board members and I said, listen, this is my thought. This is what I want to do. It was literally 1 o'clock in the morning, but thank God he's on a different time zone. I said, I want to take care of all the first responders, all the healthcare workers and the essential business kids. I want to take care of their children. I want to do it for free. So that's what I want to do. I want to do that worldwide as a franchise. We have to be a part of this. We have to keep our doors open, because what are we about? We're philanthropic. Okay. Yes, you have to pay for an admission. These individual franchisees are business owners, but not during crisis, not during something like this. We go back to the basics. We need to help families. And it couldn't be just about the special needs families, right? It needed to be about the essential care workers. Okay, so how can I bring that together? Well, if you're an essential care worker, if you work in a hospital and you have a special needs child, there's nowhere for you to go. They shut down daycares. They shut down everything, right? And you don't want to give your child at this time, to a grandparent where you can make them, at risk. So, the Mama D, okay, kicked in, and we put in the electrostatic spray daily, okay, in our locations. Everyone was gloved up, masked up. We did this big announcement via MBRTS. And I'm not sure if you saw it out there on social media, and we said what we were going to do, and that was it. I couldn't believe it. More than, I would say 75% of our locations, I'm sorry, again, that's the trash in the back.
It's okay.
More than
It's okay.
75% of our locations were able to stay open. Some of our locations in different countries, it was mandated that they shut down completely. But I'm sorry, I have to laugh at this. It's just, right? Can you believe this?
We can barely hear it.
Oh, you can?
So,
Okay, good.
it's fine.
Well, I called the mayor, I called the mayor's office. I wanted to make sure that this was okay. I made sure that my other owners, again, called their local officials' offices, and they said, yeah, you're essential. You can stay open. So this is what we've been doing now we're going on 8 weeks. So the kiddos, they come to the front door with their parents, we're on our knees, we're sanitizing, their hands. Mom and dad can't come in. They have to be masked up. We've got our electric card reader. We scan their card, and they come in, their kiddos' IDs come up. We've got these little cute guitar key tags, and we just, again, it's, contactless, we don't touch anything. And guess what? When our doors reopen, we're putting the same protocol in place, because like you and I were talking about earlier, parents are still going to be nervous. And when we open, it's going to be what has our mayor said here in California, Los Angeles, 25% capacity, right?
Yeah, 25%. So, I'm just so proud of you. What a wonderful thing to do. We talked on the show about taking lemonades and making lemonade, and you made like incredible lemonade.
I will tell you, there was no choice. And it was very hard for the gym owners. I have, each of my locations here, I've got 90, babies around me. How am I going to keep them calm? How am I going to keep them okay? They need to keep doing what they're doing. They can't be locked up in their homes. So many of them want to, again, they can't just sit in your home and take care of your own children. When you're a part of We Rock the Spectrum and you are daily making an impact, on children's lives, there's no stop. So once we did this, and once again, I met with my board member, and he gave me the go to do it. We've spent tens of thousands of dollars on funding health, first responders, healthcare workers, grocery store workers, pharmacists, kids. We're taking care of them. And it's been so, just a wonderful experience seeing that, across the board worldwide, there hasn't been a COVID case in any of my locations. Okay. The owners have been doing it right. We don't let someone come up. It doesn't matter what state you're in. If your state isn't requiring a mask, we require the mask. So we've got our own rules in the We Rock the Spectrum franchise. And that's what we're following. And I don't care how rural the city is, where, We Rock the Spectrum is, we've got our protocol. And I'm so proud to say that we have safely taken care of hundreds of children for first responders and healthcare workers.
And what are these folks saying to you, Dina? Because you have to have been like a godsend to them, because they knew they needed to go to work, but this was a problem across the board that people were like, where are my kids going to be? They can't be in school. So like, what kinds of things are they saying to you, Dina? They've got to be just so appreciative.
They're so appreciative. I will tell you, the hardest part has been sticking with within the numbers. Like for example, my location's very small, so we can't have more than 10 people. That's including workers or one-to-ones if they have special needs. So it's saying no. We've had a wait list in Tarzana for almost 8 weeks. So of course the kiddos that have been coming in, they're so appreciative. The parents, tears. We've seen a lot of tears.
I'm sure.
And we're just showing, our gratitude, our appreciation, because as you know, if we can't keep their kids, safe, okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if I get sick? I need them okay, right? So
Yeah.
let us at least do our part so that we can take care of our kiddos so they can continue saving lives for us, or putting, food on the table in the grocery stores. You don't really realize what's essential. I mean, this has been such a lesson to learn. Well, we got to eat, right? We got to eat, we got to go to work, we got to save lives. We have to, provide the prescriptions for, loved ones that are sick, or, it's just, there's so much out there that we didn't realize. And I have to tell you, when this first happened, Shannon, I'm like, we're essential, because I have a child with special needs and he has to be, okay, having OT. No, we weren't considered. So once we turned it and made it to where we are only taking care of the essential care workers, it's been great. Now, what we've been able to do in some countries, which is amazing, is do what's called private facility hire. So parents are actually renting the gym just for their family, say like at $50 an hour, or, $75 for 90 minutes, and they get the whole gym to themselves. And this is for our special needs community. So that's what we're able to do for them as well. It's been
crazy good.
It's been an incredible journey. It's been hard. I'm not going to lie. I've been going Facebook Live every single day in my private Facebook group for my owners, encouraging them. There's such innovators out there. And I think we all needed this to happen to see it's been amazing. I've never been more proud, okay, of my babies, okay, not just my children, but all my We Rock babies ever in this journey. It's been truly exhilarating to watch the drive, the passion, that I'm not giving up. I feel like I need to put my arm up and say, fight. They're fighting, they're warriors. Really.
Yes. And so proud of you, but you mentioned that you guys have some safety protocols in place that are extraordinary and that other people could learn from. And that, 8 weeks and you haven't had a single case. Talk a little bit about, you talked about that you do masks and there's gloves and everything, but you mentioned some sort of electrostatic. What did you say?
So there's a spray. Exactly. So in the hospital, you'll see, I don't know, I hope you've never had to, see that, but unfortunately, we've all got our health stuff. Myself, my son and my daughter, we suffer from Crohn's disease. So we've been in and out of hospitals a lot. So we've seen how they go in there every day and they spray this mist. And when this hit, we found, looked around and said, okay, what can we do? We need to behave like we're a hospital, okay? Because we're taking care of these kids that daily can be exposed, okay, to COVID-19. So one, we had to search for a product, okay, that we knew killed COVID-19, okay, that was EPA approved, which how are products going to be COVID-19 approved this fast, right? Well, guess what? We found one. We found one out there. And then what we did is we found a different device. It's very expensive. Okay, the electrostatic, the machines themselves. So we found something very similar like it that can be done daily, okay? Because there's a lot of these companies out there that misrepresent the product. Okay, you know what? You can spray once a week, okay, and it kills, all the bacteria. Well, what happens when that dries? It doesn't continue to kill for 9 days, like they say. It doesn't. And we had a little angel, okay, who has a company that does this, loved what we were doing, and came by, okay, the gym and gave us free God-sent information and said, listen, I love what you're doing, but I have to be honest with you. The spray that I do in these other companies that I know that you're using, it will not kill COVID-19 for 9 days, like it says. It won't. You need to spray every day. And that was it. Went Facebook Live in my owners group, get this machine. As a matter of fact, will you bring me over the little machine? That would be great. I have AJ, our community manager of We Rock Corporate, bringing it over. I want to show, because if I could help other companies, when they're opening up.
Show us. People need to know.
This is what it is, okay? This was bought, okay, online from Amazon, okay? When you go and you're managing your garden, okay, and you're spraying, whatever products you do, because I'm not a gardener. I'll be honest with you, but it's got this spray, okay, and it's got this device, and AJ actually has been amazing. And it's a mister, okay? So every day at the end of the day, which we've been open from 8:30 until 3 o'clock. Thank you, AJ. Every single day.
Thank you, AJ.
We go in there and we spray down the whole gym. Now, of course, we've removed the soft play toys, anything, fabric, we've removed from the gym entirely. And that's our daily regimen. That's our daily regimen, and then of course, every hour we're wiping down, doorknobs and everything. And it doesn't matter if you're gloved up. And a lot of people, and I've seen some incredible nurses talk about this live via social media, is you have to have, okay, your sanitizer by you, even if you're wearing gloves. Okay, so if you touch something, well, gloves serve no purpose. Boom, you need to sanitize. So the girls are sanitizing, okay, literally several times an hour, and just giving love and play and laughter to these children and not treating them any different. We do have little X's on the ground to keep the kiddos 6 feet apart when they're in line for the zip line or for the trampoline. And the difference is, instead of sitting, right next to each other, it's every other chair, okay, where the kiddos are sitting. And I am proud to say, here we are, it is May 7th, and we're doing it. We're doing
That's
it.
right.
We've kept these families and these children safe throughout this quarantine. I'm proud.
Well, you should be proud, because it's a huge thing, and it's something for other companies to look at and go, okay, this is doable, as everybody goes to reopen, Dina, because there's a lot of trepidation right now, and things are starting to reopen, and states are starting to reopen, and everybody's got to be reasonable, but I think the fear has been like so much unknown, but like you're a case study, 8 weeks, and you guys have been killing it, literally.
Yeah, COVID-19, absolutely. And anything else, really. It also kills, it kills 99.9% of, bacteria and viruses, the product that we use.
Wow.
And I
Well,
want to tell the public out there, we are more than happy to share, the steps in what we do. Please reach out, email us, at reception@wrtsfranchise.com. We would love to share, the products and our method, what we do, because anything that we can do to keep other businesses, safe out there, we're happy to do.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So thank you for like doing such a great job, especially for our first responders. If you, and as you said, that, the word essential has changed so much, right? Because we would have said 9 weeks ago, what was essential would have been very different than what we say it is today. And, God bless all these people that are going, the nurses and the doctors, but also, as you said, the delivery people and the grocery workers. It's absolutely amazing. And I have wondered how those people were going to be able to take care of their kids while they were helping us. But if you just think about the pebble in the pond, right? That you threw the pebble into the pond and said, I'm going to take care of those first responders' kids. And then those first responders were able to take care of a whole bunch of other people who were able to take care of a whole bunch of other people. You've set in motion, I would venture that you've probably saved many, many lives, Dina.
I haven't looked at it like that, but hearing that, you're gonna make me cry again. I've been like a big emotional, wreck seeing this in the best way possible, seeing these incredible things happen. But I have to tell you, obviously the mission and what we do is essential, because actually during this 8-week quarantine, we brought on 2 new locations. We sold 2 new franchises. I don't know what other franchise will continue to sell their mission or their product, but what we do is essential, and people knew that, guess what, this is going to happen, it's going to open back up. And we brought on a new location in Boston, and another new location in what did we just open, guys? In Baltimore. So just that's within the last couple of weeks. So
all right, I'm sorry, I interrupt you, but since you're talking about locations, let's stop for a second and tell people where should they go to look? If somebody's watching this and they're like, I don't know if there's a We Rock near me, what's the best way to look for that, Dina?
Well, as a whole, as a franchise, the great part is every single one of our locations, has a page or, a screen that shows the locations for the whole franchise itself. But if you want to do it more swiftly, just go to WRTSfranchise.com. info@WRTSfranchise.com is our email. You can also go on social media, which is We Rock the Spectrum, our headquarters page. And again, see all of our locations there as well. We also have an app now, and it's free. So yes, we've got the little cute, I will tell you, the Rock Boy app. It's very cute. And you can find all the locations on the app now. And that's another thing. Our app has become essential to reopening this franchise. We're going to be running everything through the app. So literally we're going to have customers outside the door, and they're going to be logging on. Here I am with my hands again, so you could see me via Zoom, logging on and checking in their kiddos online and paying that way, and then entering the door.
Wonderful. We got a couple of people who've written in and said some things. We've got Scotland watching right now.
Oh, I love it.
I have been immersed for the last, I don't know, month. My husband and I are watching Outlander. I had read the books in the 90s,
Ooh.
but so I'm learning the dialect. We're Scottish. I'm of Scottish origin, and so is my husband. But we've never, well, I didn't know till we did our genealogy. Shannon, I thought I was Irish. No, I'm Scottish. I am descended of royal Scottish royalty. There. Now it's out there. You can tell because I'm like, no, those rules don't apply to me. People are writing in and saying good morning, good evening. And they're saying, people are saying they found you and they're so appreciative. They've seen some of your videos. Let's talk, Dina, about, because you have a whole other website that's about serving the community. Let's talk a little bit about that.
We do, and I've been able to do some great work through that as well. So that's called Rocking the Spectrum with Dina Kimmel. And it's basically a library from A to Z, different videos, how to, get through really the whole life, okay, from, I would say, birth to adulthood of a child on the autism spectrum or sensory processing disorder, Down syndrome, really any special ability, as I call it. I don't call them disabilities, okay? Our children are people of determination. I learned that incredible 2 words when I was in Dubai opening up, and I loved it how the Sheikh Mohammed said, these are not children of disabilities, these are people of determination. So that's the verbiage that I use. But what we did is we offered a free membership. So during this quarantine time, we've offered a free membership. I mean, it's usually what, $9.99 a month, but it doesn't matter. Every dollar counts right now when you're not bringing in any dollars. So we've offered that membership free, and people have been able to go online and watch my videos. And, I call them Mama D's Motivational Minutes. And today we're going to talk about fear. Today we're going to talk about, paying it forward. Every day it's something new that I can bring to the public. And really it's therapy for me also. It feels good. It feels good to be able to, have these emails written in. I've been also going live via Zoom. I'm going live. We have a location opening up soon in Ireland. And so I'm coming on as guest speakers for, the community in their Dublin and their, in their area. And anyone out there, please, like I said, if you need it, you need that support, please just email in and I'll be there for you. Again, this is all free of charge. That's not why I did this. As you know, it's not why I became a franchise. I became a franchise of We Rock the Spectrum to help families, to help kids. And it's, a lot of people think the special needs diagnosis is just about the child. It's not. It's greatly about the person who's taking care of that child. That's who needs the support.
Yeah. And I love that you brought up the franchise again, because there are probably people who are watching who have, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to retract it a little bit, but not found their niche, right? I think that part of this journey is that you start out and you got to get your feet under you, right? And when you're trying to get your feet under you, you're looking for help and support. And, we do a show here that tries to do that, but let's face it, it's an hour a day. And sometimes you need more than that. So if you're looking for support to get through, any phase of the journey, you can go to Rock on the Spectrum and you can find that. And Dina, I mean, honestly, Dina's one of the best people to talk to you about, because she's no nonsense, right? But she's super positive and she knows how to kick it into action. But she's also not going to blow smoke up your tushy. Right? You know what I mean? Like, she's not going to tell you it's easy when it's not easy. But if you want to be with somebody who's positive and moving, man, Dina will take care of that for you. But I do think that along the way, what I've seen anyway, Dina, is that parents, there's like a shifting point once they get some support for themselves and their kids start to make progress, then they're on their way. But there's another shift where they find their place. Mm-hmm. And everybody has a place in this community, and it looks different on every person, right? And some moms, go and volunteer at the school, and some dads will go and coach the team that their kids are on, whatever it is. But some people have found that they need a home, a place where they can be, where their kids can be, where they can be working, earning an honest living, not, necessarily, becoming millionaires. It's not about that, but a place where you can work and be with your kids and your kids have resources. And a lot of those people have found you and said, I want to be an entrepreneur like you. And that's why you have so many gyms, because people have seen what you're doing and they want to be a part of it. And I've said many times that, you know, our paths were running like this because Autism Live was just starting when you were starting We Rock. But if I had been a little later on Autism Live, or if you had been a little earlier, I would be an owner. I would. This is exactly what I would have done.
You would have been amazing owner, but I can't imagine you without Autism Live. I can't. So I'm grateful for that. But I'll tell you something, Shannon. You know what's happening now is that a lot of businesses sadly are closing their doors and they're not going to be able to reopen. Okay. They've lost everything. So now we're getting a lot of inquiries coming in. Matter of fact, as soon as, you know, the world said we're going to be reopening, all of a sudden all the inquiries are coming in. You know, we have the We Rock on Wheels mobile. So we also kept that into play. So we kept that into play during the quarantine also. We were driving the bus to one family, driving, you know, especially the special needs families, driving the bus to their homes in their driveway, and their kiddos had 2 hours on that bus for $99. I mean, literally it was just to cover my staff and give that support. So now we're having people call in and go, you know, I need a new business. Okay. So how, you know, how much does it cost to have the bus franchise? And, you know, these are all, to become a We Rock the Spectrum owner is one of the most feasible franchises that you can step into. And again, we're here to work with people. This is also, I feel like a time where we're all realizing, okay, you know what, we might have to shift our career, you know, and this is happening. So we're getting a lot of those inquiries coming in saying, I've lost my restaurant. Okay. I've lost my hair salon. You know, I've lost my my shoe repair store, you know, but I have a child on the spectrum. You know, do you think this would be a fit for me? And that's what I didn't expect. So that's been, I feel grateful for it. And I'm also very sad, you know, I'm sad for really so many families and businesses who have not been as fortunate as we have been to be able to, you know, keep our doors open, really.
And it is sad, and change is always hard. But I've been comparing this to autism for a couple of weeks and saying that, you know, in the beginning, when autism came and we were like, oh no, this isn't going to be what I thought it was going to be. And we went through a period of grief, and then we might even have gone through a period of denial, right? But then we started on the path of doing what we needed to do. And eventually we got to a place where we thought, I can't even imagine my life being any different. Absolutely. And we find the blessings along the way. And, you know, I know that our lives changed exponentially when our child was diagnosed with autism. And when I look back on it, I just can't imagine it any other way. And I think that we're going to get to a point where 10 years down the road from now, there are going to be people who say, you know, I started a new career because of what happened with COVID and the Great Isolation. And wow, and that led me to this, which led me to this, which led me to this. And that they'll see that this was the path, that this was the thing that needed to happen. We're just in the scary phase of it right now, the unknown phase, the beginning phase. And that's hard. But you know, I love somebody said, you know, stop saying we're all in this together, because we're not all in this together, because we're all in the same storm, but everybody's boat looks different.
Very different. Very,
right.
Very, some people have become homeless. Some people have moved in with, you know, other loved ones. Some people, you know, again, they're in shelters, you know, not just here in Los Angeles, but other places around the world. And some people are on the streets because of all this happening. And then there's the people who are lifestyles, the rich and famous, and they're living on their yachts. And, you know, they've decided to go to, you know, the Caribbean during this time. So it is very different. Yes, we're all in the same storm. That's a great way to put it. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because, you know, you hear that a lot on the news. Oh, we're all in this together. You're absolutely right, Shannon. We are all on the same, isolation, quarantine journey, but our paths, our roads have been very, very different. And if you're in the special needs community and you have a young one, unlike you and I, where our kids are, you know, older and more regulated, I can't even imagine. I'll tell you right now, my COO, Gail Field, okay, her son is still younger. And in the state of Florida, ABA therapists will not go to a child's home. Okay, they're not even doing teletherapy there. it makes me sick. So here I'm watching her son and her struggle so hard as he's regressing. I mean, this is what, again, the world doesn't see, the regression. I mean, I'm looking at the whole world right now. Whoever's watching this show, I feel your pain. I see it. I know what you guys are going through, and it's awful. But, you know, hang in there. You know, we're almost at the end of it. But I just can't believe, here we got the huge state of Florida, okay? And they won't do teletherapy with kids for behavior issues? I mean, what the heck? Gabriel's had 2 computers open every day. Can't believe this kid's on, okay, 8 hours a day, okay, of school. I can't believe they're doing that to him. It's been very tough, but he's hanging? Oh, he's hanging. He's got 1 computer up, okay, with his companion on it. He's got the other computer up with his class. She's in the class. And he's doing OT, okay, on, okay, the computer. And guess what? My 12-year-old learned how to cook. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I think if we never had this quarantine, he would have never learned these things, these life skills. So again, those of you out there, if your state or your city is still not offering that, please, you know, email in and ask us, and we can give you great tools and videos to help, because this stinks. I just, like I said, I look at who is just, again, my right hand in this company, Gail, and I think, I can't imagine. Okay. Yeah. I can't imagine having still a little one with severe behaviors, okay, regressing and out of their routine. Okay. Again, as you said, we're all in this, okay, in this isolation together, but very, very differently, very differently.
Wow. Well, so now we are hearing rumblings in different states about opening. Some states have already opened back up and others are getting ready to. What is your timeline to reopen, Dina?
Well, you know, we're living in the same nearby area, you and I, so we know it's around the corner. Looks like the 15th for us. But, you know, the great thing, and I'm telling also the other owners who are going, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I think we're more nervous about the outside public, you know, and I remind them, you're just going to keep doing what you're already doing. That's the great thing. We've already have these safety precautions in place. It's nothing new. Now, what I want my owners to do is tell their world and their community what we're doing. So that's what we're taking time to this next 2 weeks, as again, their states or their county or city reopens, is letting them know, you know what, this is what we're doing. It's safe. You can come back into We Rock. We are doing it safely. We're definitely promoting, I would say, you know, regarding birthday parties and gatherings, drop off. We don't want the parents in the gym. No offense, love you, but we're now, you know, really changing our model, you know, our business model, you know, now to drop off. Okay. And the public's appreciative of it. It's getting a huge, you know, huge response. They're appreciative. They're still nervous, but again, we can't say we're 100%, you know, foolproof. We're not, but we're going to do our best. We're going to continue doing our best.
That's right. Absolutely right. So, and you mentioned that I can't believe your son is doing 8 hours a day. Like, I'm not hearing anybody else doing that, but I want to know, like, personally in your family, how everybody's doing and coping, and you know, and if you have any tips or tricks for how you guys, because I keep saying that there's such a difference, even in our household. You know, I'm working more hours than I've ever worked. And so, you know, to the point where I've had to say, I got to slow down a little bit because I don't want to miss this time with my son, you know, and he's busy. My kid is busy and he's happy as a clam, but he's only having school like 2 hours a day.
Ugh, I wish.
Yeah. So, well, you know, but he's got other projects that he's doing. But my husband, on the other hand, is, you know, furloughed. And so he has occasional stuff, like he's doing some voiceover stuff from time to time, but he's, you know, he's Mr. Leisure.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, we haven't had that in our house, I will tell you.
Really?
I'd say the most leisure in our household is my daughter, Sophia, who, like your son, has school a couple hours a day and that's it. But it's interesting. Guess what? She now is in on Gabriel's OT sessions. She, this morning, I'm not kidding you, I have a video of it, is flipping crepes. She's making crepes, okay, for the whole family. My daughter wouldn't even go near a stove. She had a phobia. Okay, mommy was cooking her low carb tortillas on the stove, okay, about 5 years ago, and they all caught on fire, okay, and she's like, PTSD, mommy. All of a sudden, Gabriel is having OT via the computer. He's in the kitchen. He's making like this tenderloin, and he's cooking, and Sophia admitted it this morning. She goes, I got jealous, mommy. I heard you, yes, I love that my almost 16-year-old still calls me mommy. I got jealous that Gabriel was getting all this attention and kudos of cooking. So I started and I said, and look at this. If we never had this quarantine, you would not be making breakfast for everybody.
That's awesome.
Listen, my husband has been lucky. Okay. Right now he still has his shows, like your husband, he's in the industry. He does sound for TV and film, but guess what? Everything stopped filming. So a month or two from now, he's not going to have a show, okay, for several months until they, start filming again. Me, myself, listen, yes, I have so much more time with my kids, but I've also had to do what you're doing. You're supporting your community out there in the world, and I'm supporting, mine, and as well as being, really 10 times over more supportive as a corporate team. I couldn't do this without my corporate team. My team has been amazing. We have half of us on Zoom, okay, and half of us, here. I'm like, okay, you guys can all still stay on payroll, but you know what? You got to be on Zoom, okay? We need to all work together because we need that. We need to support one another. We're dealing.
But how are you managing all? Because honestly, Dina, between working and there's all the things for the household, and there's the ordering the groceries. Like, how are you getting all that done?
Thank God for Amazon Fresh. Okay. Literally, last night, I was here at the office, and everyone texted me their order, and there I am. I'm on the computer, and I, wake up this morning, and there's my husband who's up early doing exercise. I mean, my husband's in the best shape of his life. Everyone else is gaining weight. Okay. I seem to be hanging in there myself, but everyone, else is gaining weight, and he's getting in the best shape of his life because all he has time to do, right, is run and exercise. But there he is unloading, 20 bags of groceries this morning. I'm utilizing what the world's given us out there. We're really trying to support our local, restaurants and businesses. Our oven has been broken during this whole quarantine. No oven, but Gabriel in one of his OT sessions learned how to use the barbecue. So we've been basically barbecuing 5 days a week. Okay. And that's been great. But listen, it hasn't been easy. I have a daughter who has a great deal of anxiety as well. We needed to bring in some help. So I'm seeking help too. Listen, I'd say the best leaders out there, empower those who are around her. And, I reach out for help when I need it. I reach out for help, and we did. So
such a good role model.
Well, it took time. Listen, it takes time. It's not easy, like you said, for any of us. Listen, it's all relative. We're blessed. We have a roof over our head, and we're very lucky. But of course, the revenue stream stops as a franchise. If no one's paying for their kiddos to come in, the franchise revenue has stopped. But you know what? We're okay. We're doing okay. Like I said, we brought on a couple new owners, and I'm telling you, by the grace of God, the world out there actually sees that, this business is going to continue on. Matter of fact, we're going to be the place where people want to go to, because they know that we're going to take care of their kiddos. But like you, Shannon, the balance isn't always easy. We do our best, right? We do our best. We can't say we're doing a great job. We're doing our best.
But you look great and you sound great, and what you're doing is amazing. And I can't wait to hear what you do next, because it's always something with you, Dina Kimmel.
Well, it's you're continuing on via Zoom.
Yeah, and we've been doing extra shows sometimes public and sometimes for a private audience. But yes, we've been busy. I mean, like, how can you not be in this community? But as we move back to opening up, and as you are reopening gyms and all of those things, and we hope that eventually we're going to get back to a place where we don't have to have tape on the floor, and we don't have to be, isolating from each other. And you mentioned you got a whole bunch in the work. Where are you getting ready to open, or can you even say, is it a state secret?
No, it's not a state secret. Listen, the state of Texas, the state of Florida, the state of California, many of them, Illinois, they're lifting right now. But again, my friend,
I meant the new gyms.
The new gyms. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Because, the person from Scotland said, I'm so enjoying this, even though we're living in the UK, but you just said Ireland. That you're getting ready to open in Ireland. And do you have any in the UK? You certainly could.
No, we
at
need
some
we
point?
need more locations in the UK, and the UK is about to blow up because again, this new partnership that I told you that's come on board, that they're bringing on really 100 new locations. That includes buses as well. The UK is definitely going to be a place where we're going to be. So, hello Scotland out there, we're coming your way. In the meantime, take a quick flight over to Ireland. We've got Mecca and Anil, our owners there, are amazing. They've been going Facebook Live even though their doors aren't open yet. They're securing their location. But yes, we're really excited. We're really excited. We also have, as you know, in Canada and Saudi is another new state that we just brought on. We're really excited because the resources there are so limited. And so truly the need there is great. But again, we brought on a new state in Massachusetts. We're very excited to be adding a WeRock there. And it's interesting. I remember being interviewed like 5 years ago, and it was right when I was opening up and becoming a franchise. And the person, I think it was the Franchise Times magazine, and she said, so, you know, well, what's your goal? What's your 5-year goal? And I said, well, my 5-year goal would be, you know, if we could go international. And, you know, I hit that goal after just under 3 years. It was amazing. And their next question was, well, when are you going to stop? So when are you done? I said, when am I going to stop? Okay. I'm never going to stop. A WeRock is needed wherever there's a community. So this is ongoing. You know, this has now become the franchise that's needed, you know, for children. And, you know, I don't even consider this a business, Shannon. This is the love of my life. This is the love of my life. I've got a very supportive husband who says, you are the richest, poorest person I know. You put every dollar you make, Tina, back into the company to helping, you know, your owners be as successful as they can be, or doing what you're doing. You know, the nonprofit is being funded by my incredible husband, you know, and I. And so really, you know, all these first responders, it's, you know, it's been on us, you know, and my other board member who I'm so grateful for. And we're just proud. You know, we know that paying it forward is the right thing to do.
Well, you should be proud. You're doing a lot of really good things. Somebody wrote in, well, first of all, Dana wrote in and said hello to us. We love Dana.
Hello, Dana.
And somebody wrote in and said that they shared, their closest gym is apparently a little far away, but they shared it to help out friends that are close by, but that they would like to see one in Portland, Oregon.
I would love to be in Portland. So I lived not too far from there a couple years ago, 25 years ago. Oh my God. I just hit the big 50. So I'm having I just, you know, I don't feel 50. Well, some days I do, but anyway, I really don't. But I lived there 25 years ago and I love that area. We definitely need one in Portland. So if you're not the person, put the word out there. We need you. We need you. It could be you.
That's right. That's right. And one of the things that I love, you know, when everything is whatever the new normal, when we get back to whatever we're getting back to, you know, I have loved the gyms for so many reasons. It's a great place. I mean, all the things that you guys are asking for right now, it's all of those things. You guys are asking for, I need something to do with my kids, right? And I need something to do on a day when the weather is inappropriate, whether that's that it's too hot or it's too cold or it's raining or whatever, right? You need something to take the kids to do. And you don't want it to be super expensive. And you don't, like, I've taken my kid to Chuck E. Cheese before, right? And you spend 10 minutes and you're already out $25 and you haven't accomplished anything. And your kid isn't any the richer for having been there. They haven't had an experience that's going to help them in their life, right? And it's like, boom, right? But at the WeRock, the Spectrum Kids gyms, first of all, your kids are working out their yayas, which means they're going to sleep better. You're going to have a better life that night. And your kids are growing muscles and they're learning skills, really wonderful skills.
Absolutely.
You know, when we think about all that fine motor and gross motor stuff, that has to be worked out. It's not like you just give a kid an exercise to do once and you're like, well, great. That's like me going to the gym once and going, all right, why am I not thin? Right? I still haven't figured that equation. But what it also does right now, Dina, we've got so many parents that are writing in and saying, I just need a break.
Yeah.
I just need a break. I just need an hour where I'm not responsible for their every need.
Come to a WeRock the Spectrum. You know, now more than ever, please know, you know, out there that you can, you know, just drop off your kids, because that's the thing. The gyms, you know, let this be a great thing to worry about. But I said to them, I said, you guys are going to have to take reservations. I said, because again, there cannot be more than 10 people, even after we open. I put in strict guidelines until we see that there is at least an antiviral out. I mean, yes, you know, we've got some hopeful drugs that are assisting, but we're limiting our capacity, you know, one person per 150 square feet. That's our rule as a franchise.
That's a good rule.
Yeah. So really, please bring your kids to us, drop them off, go to the restaurant that is allowing 25%, you know, capacity, and go have a date with your husband. I'll tell you, this is either made or break. I know, as you and I will both say, many relationships, marriages, you know, partnerships or what have you. I'm very grateful. You know, I've survived my husband being home for the last 2 months. God bless you. I love you out there. You know, Tim Kimmel, he's putting a new air conditioning unit in our home right now. Can you imagine the air went out with 100-degree weather?
Stop.
Yeah, no, I'm
your
not
stove and your air conditioner.
Yes,
My goodness, girl.
And my husband's been much more, even though I'm the one with the compromised immune system, he's been the one who's, you know, much more, you know, concerned and careful, and basically putting me in this little bubble. And he won't let someone come in to fix our oven. And just recently, you know, today he finally let someone come with the air conditioning, because both of our kids slept in our room last night, because thankfully that's got its own unit. So there we were, we're schwitzing, we're sweating. I'm telling you, when it rains, it pours. But I really put things into perspective. There are people who have lost their lives out there. And I want to tell all of you who are watching, please, my heart, my compassion goes to you guys to not be able to be there with your loved ones on those last minutes. I can't even fathom what all of, you know, the world out there has gone through. I can't. And that's what breaks my heart. I just continue to pray every day for those families who have lost loved ones and have not been able to be there in those last moments. You know, my next door neighbor 2 weeks ago had a stroke. Her husband has not been able to go there. Okay. She's nonverbal now, not speaking. I mean, I just, again, what we have going on in my house is this big. Right. I'm going to continue to focus on others, as do you, and try and make a difference every day.
It's hard. I mean, it's and as we said, everybody's load has been different. But I gotta say, I don't think it's been easy for anybody, but infinitely harder for other people. But I really want to encourage people to find out more about the We Rock near you, and if there isn't one near you, you know, that's an interesting dilemma, isn't it? It's a quality problem. My husband and I talk all the time about. I'm a great one for sitting back and letting somebody else do something. Like if I go to a PTA meeting or something like that, and they say, well, we need somebody to run this, I'm never the person who goes, oh, me. I'll sit, because I make I'm a very good member of the team. If somebody says, I really want to do that, I'm happy to be on your team. I don't need to be the boss of everything. But if I sit and I wait and I see that nobody is doing it, I will jump in with both feet. So maybe you're sitting there and you're like, I'm hoping that somebody else will open up the gym. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes it's you that's supposed to do it. So if you've been waiting and it's not happening, perhaps it's the thing to do. And they can reach out to you at the, say it again, because letters, you know, I know it stands for We Rock the Spectrum, but what it's
WRTSfranchise.com. And again, you know, I'm telling you already know this, Shannon, everyone out there, we're not the typical franchise. We don't give you a handbook and say, here, run your business. We are there every single step of the way to helping you, you know, find your location or build out your fit out for your bus. And we don't leave you, you know, we don't leave you. Even after and you say you don't need us, we're still checking on you minimum once a week. How are you doing? What can we do? We fly, you know, I fly out my team. Just sometimes people just need that support. So this is different. We're a family. We're a family. You know, everyone says, oh, are you going to, you know, sell the franchise off to somebody? So I'm like, no, this started because of, you know, little Rock Boy. This is actually a little mold of Gabriel at 2.5 years old. And we're not going anywhere. And again, anyone that comes in our franchise, we treat like family.
Well, and it is like a big family. The word I was using was tribe, because I've been there before when you've had all your franchise or most of them together, and to have a get together and a party, and they're a great group of people. My goodness, I've never met people with bigger hearts, and they all look up to you. That's why they call you Mama D, because you take care of everybody. And
they're my heroes.
You're amazing. and when people have asked me, many years ago, I had this idea that I wanted to do this sensitive Santa thing, and I knew I couldn't do it without you. And she was the first person I ran to, and I said, look, I've got this idea of something that I want to do. And so we've been doing the sensitive Santa. We've lost track of whether it's 5 years or 6 years or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah.
But we do that at her flagship location. But it's almost like it's such a great event in that the families that we get to meet every year, and some of them have been there every single year. This last year, we had that one dad that I think decimated both of us, that we could remember when he came in with his little, and that little kid wasn't able to go up to Santa, wasn't able to do anything. But this time, walked right in there and he was like, Santa, I'm back. and the dad was just weeping. You and I were weeping. It was absolutely amazing. But I gotta say, there's lots of sensitive Santa events all over the country now. But I've got to say, I do think that the reason why that event is so special is not because we give away, $100,000 worth of free toys, although that makes it fun. But it's because it's at the gym. And the thing that works about our sensitive Santa is that the kids aren't waiting in line, they're playing.
They're playing. It's you and your family and team also, Shannon.
No, I really disagree. It's because it's at the gym, and because other sensitive Santas, the kids still have to wait in line to see Santa. And that's the part that doesn't work. That's the part that makes it so that when you finally get in to be with Santa, that you're already set up for not the most success. The kids are anxious, they're sensory overload, and you only have that 1 minute to get it right and to take pictures and do whatever. Whereas at your gym, they get to come in and see Santa after playing. And if it doesn't have the hearts and rainbows and the flowers on it that first time, they get to go play again. And then they get to come back later on in the hour.
But let me tell you also, though, you have the Santa that goes to the car if needed. You have the Santa who will go to the person in the wheelchair sitting out in front of the gym and give them a present, and let them, if they're nonverbal, verbal, whatever it is, let them express, their gratitude and pleasure for seeing Santa Claus, maybe for the first time ever. So it really is the Santa. We're a great team. We're a great team, you and
Wow. Yes, I will admit to you, we have the best Santa. He's pretty awesome. And I love him like nobody's business. But anyway, we're running out of time here. So Dina, what have we not talked about that we need to tell people? Because we got about 3.5 minutes. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I feel like this is a time, I've spoken to a lot of families, one-on-one, who have needed the support. I feel like this is really, truly a time to make sure that you have your fears versus facts right, okay? For as you reopen in your city, in your area, fear is absolutely debilitating, okay? Focus on not having that word in your life. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to have concerns over what happens next, but get the right information. Get the right information out there, or you are going to be sitting in your home, okay, for the next 3 months, and you don't need to be. So really, I want to get that out there to the world that, you know what, yes, we're all scared. We're all scared of this virus that there's still not a vaccine for. But you know what, if you do things smartly, if you need help, if you want advice on how to do it, please reach out to us. Email in at info@wrtsfranchise.com. Someone will get back to you within an hour. Okay, so please, again, remember that fear is debilitating. Okay, it's debilitating so many people out there right now. Okay, they are so scared, and it breaks my heart because I know what fear has done in my life, in many decades ago, and it keeps you stuck. It's time to move forward, all of us. Again, it's got to be at your pace. You need to do it smartly. You need to wear your mask, even though your city says that you don't need to do it. Okay, again, not just to protect yourself, but to protect others. And reach out for help. That's what I want to tell everyone. Reach out for help. You're not alone in this. Okay. You're not. And we just so happen to be, a great mission to where that's what we do. We're here to help people. We're here to help families. You don't have to have a special needs child for us to be there for you as a company. We have many different locations. Any one of our franchisees, our owners, will do exactly what I will do for the community. So if you don't have a re-rock in your area, reach out to us and me personally. I will hop on Zoom for you in a second and help you through it, or we will give you the tools what you need.
There you go. And I just want to put in a plug for the Rock on the Spectrum with Dina. Go there. Right now you were saying it's free, Dina, but even when it's the $9.99 a month, when you think about, there are many of you that, for instance, tune in to watch this and you want more. And I'm not available to give you more. Imagine being able to have endless amounts of Dina. Plus, Dina even has, you have the ability to, just like you can get the gym for an hour, or you can get the portable, the mobile gym, the bus for an hour or 2 hours and rent it. There's a very affordable way that you can get an hour of Dina's time and to be sitting and having a conversation about whatever you want with Dina, which is invaluable. And I know that, for some of you, you're like, I just need more, and that's available to you if that's something that you're really interested in. So where do they go to find that, Dina?
Thank you, Shannon. It's rockingthespectrum.com. And again, as you said, right now I'm just donating all my time. And I will be for a while, for many months, until, like I said, until we have a antiviral, a vaccine. I'm donating my time to the world and community. That's what we're about, because you know what? I wish I had that. Matter of fact, that's how Rocking the Spectrum started. I was going to all different places to trying to find those resources. If I could have had this one spot like Rocking the Spectrum, to go to, it would have made things so much easier. I didn't know you back then. When my son was first diagnosed, there were those first couple people who told me about the, movie theaters with the sensitive lights and these, gluten-free, which my son, needed to be gluten-free, as I know your son as well. So I'm honored to be able to be that person. So let me help you. I want to tell the public, let me be there for you guys. Let me and my team be there for you.
You're amazing. And I can't imagine anybody better to feature in this week of Mother's Day. I hope that you have an amazing Mother's Day. I hope you get to take some time off and just feel the love of your kiddos who think that the sun rises and sets in you. They are so lucky to have you for a mom. And we just appreciate you so much. Check out We Rock the Spectrum, and check out Rockin' the Spectrum with Dina, and write to her because she's a pretty amazing person. I just adore you.
I adore you. You're going to make me cry, but thank you.
Mutual admiration society here. But honestly, have so much respect for you and just adore you. And I do want to be you when I grow up. Even though you are significantly younger than me, I still want to be you when I grow up. But love you. Please give everybody there, because I love your whole staff too. You have good people. Good people attract good people. And I will talk to you. Oh, hey, would you do me a favor? I want to know, I want to be connected with your cleaning, the person who did the cleaning thing. Oh,
you mean your
spray,
the brand that we use?
Yes. Okay. So will you connect me?
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. I'll
connect anyone else. Again, okay. Right in, we'll let you know where to go and where to purchase everything. We want to share that with people, because that's the only way to keep this out of your business.
I want to share it with my son's school. So there we go. Good. All right. Thank you. Love you so. Hey guys, tomorrow we have this crazy, crazy show where we've got so many different things. We're going to be featuring, of course, Nancy will be here for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We're going to be featuring Spectrum Labs. They've got a new film that's going to be out in film festivals that they want to talk about, with some new distance things that projects that they're going to be doing that you guys will love to hear about. We've got our autism expert, Hitomi Wada, is going to be with us answering some questions that you guys have sent in. And then we have an amazing mother-son team. Son is on the spectrum. He's a beautiful singer, and he's going to be here with his mom for us to celebrate Mother's Day. So that's going to be wonderful. That's great. Until tomorrow, Give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Thank you so much, Dina. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Shannon Penrod and you're watching Autism Live. We are coming to you live from my house and from our producer's house, which are not even close to each other. And later we're going to have a guest who's going to be coming from somewhere that it's not even close to either one of us. And that is the state of the state. Hey, which reminds me that hopefully you guys have received a notification that we are having a town hall tonight. This is very exciting for me. It's a town hall, so everyone is invited. I will tell you that there is a limit to the audience, but it's a large limit. But you know, come early so that you don't get bumped out. But the topic is the state of special education. And our special guest is Bonnie Yates. She's going to be with us. She says she's got some cutting edge stuff, first of all, to notify you guys, because as you know, as things changed and directives were put out by different entities that asked us to please prioritize essential businesses, and there were school closures and all these other things, there was some little statement that was given to the Secretary of Education, who is Betsy DeVos, and it asked for directive for her about what to do about X, Y, and Z, right? And some of the directives have come through now, because she had, I don't know, like 30 days to respond. Some of that has come through. And if you, like me, don't know exactly what Betsy DeVos said and how it impacts your kid, then you're going to want to be there. And that's tonight. For those of you on the East Coast at 7 p.m., the math is, so at 7 p.m. Eastern time, it will be at 6 p.m. Central time. No. Right? 7, 6, yes, 5 p.m. Mountain time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. And if you're in Hawaii, I count on you to do the math because it's past me. I'd have to take off my shoes. I want to say hi to Estella. Estella, hello. And Raquel, and to Christina, we're saying hello. Hey, that reminds me that there's lots of different ways to interact with us, especially today. Want to hear your interaction. If he has a second, Traven will post that for you. There are lots of ways to watch live. Let's talk about the live ways first. First of all, you can watch on our homepage, which is autism-live.com. Lots to do on that page, including check out our toy guide, chat with us anonymously. I'm able to access that here on my iPad. That when you see my arm go up, it's because I'm looking at the iPad over here. And that's the live feature. It's free, it's anonymous. But you can also be writing in on Facebook, on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Twitter. We are live in all of those places. And then the live show, you can replay it on any of those platforms, but we also podcast to the stuff that's on the other column: iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Deezer. So check us out. We're free in all of those places. And that's really important to me, that we remain free to you guys. I want you to be able to spend your shekels and your dollars and the pennies and your couch cushions on the things that you need to do to implement the things that we talk about here on the show, right? So I hope that you will check us out in all those places. Everybody has been asking lately about, well, what can I do for you? I had a bunch of friends who were like, you've been helpful to me. What can I do for you? Well, always with Autism Live, if you like us on Facebook, if you subscribe on our homepage, because that little box comes up and says, would you like to subscribe? You can subscribe on YouTube. And we love it when people give us a review on iTunes. That makes me extra super special happy, because it's totally on iTunes. I don't know if you know this, but you have your little icon and your thing is there, and people can search and find you, but there's a lot of things that have autism and live in them, so it's hard to find. But if people review you, your little icon gets bumped up. And if enough people review you, there have been several times that we have been in the top 10 for our category. And when that happens, then you get front page. So when people open up their podcasts, you're right there. And then a whole bunch more people find us. And that's very exciting when new audience members find us. And that's the only way to do that on iTunes. So review us on iTunes. We super duper love that. Hey, I like to remind you at the start of the show that We have a lot of experts that are here on the show, and you're going to love our guests today. But just please remember that I am not one of the experts. Let's be really, really clear about that. I am a mom of an individual who was diagnosed with autism, and I have an opinion. And yes, I've been hosting shows about autism, interviewing people for over 10 years. So I like to say that I have an informed opinion, but it's my opinion. It's not an expert opinion. And so you must take that into consideration. Yeah. But I care deeply about what you're trying to do. And I care deeply about the autism community. And I mean all aspects of the autism community. I always talk about how we have the core, which are individuals who are on the autism spectrum, and we are here to serve that community. Please don't be mistaken. No, I am not on the spectrum myself, although, you know, I don't have a diagnosis of anything, but I'm a very sensory person. I think we're all a little on the spectrum somewhere. Let me say that. But I don't have a diagnosis of an autism spectrum disorder. I want to be very clear about that. Nor do I want to in any way act as though I do or might or have, right? I want to serve those individuals. But I also know that being a person who loves someone on the autism spectrum, that all the people who love people on the autism spectrum need some help and support in order to help and support those folks. So that's what we try to do here on the show, is help and support everyone so that we can get the resources and the respect and the jobs and all those things going for those individuals who are on the autism spectrum. Got it? That's where I'm coming from. And I don't expect everybody to agree with me. And in fact, I glory when people disagree with me. I'm perfectly comfortable with that. I think that discourse is a great thing as long as it's civil. So that's where I am on that. But I do think we can all agree that the individuals on the autism spectrum deserve dignity, and they deserve their God-given rights, right? And their legal rights. If you don't agree with that, then please don't stay here. We have nothing for you if you don't agree with that. But I think if you're here, you agree with that. Okay, so let's take that common interest and let's be in that together. You know what I always say? We can do this together. Si se puede, right? We virtually hold hands. Okay, so on Thursdays, we like to start the show with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out what in the hey nani are the experts talking about? What does this have to do with this? I always say, you know, can this save me 5 minutes and $5? Because if it doesn't, do I really have time for it, right? So today's term is BIP, or I like to refer to it as the BIP, right? Some people refer to it as the BIP, some people don't. So what is the BIP? First, we give you the actual definition. Whenever possible, I make fun of it. Then we give you a working definition so that hopefully it can begin to start saving you that 5 minutes and $5. So the BIP is the Behavior Intervention Plan. That's what a BIP stands for. It's an action plan based on observations made in an FBA. Oh, goody, more jargon. That outlines how a team will improve difficult behavior that is inhibiting a child's success in school or other environments. And we're really talking about the behavior intervention plan in the school setting. Now, do we have the behavior intervention plans that happen at home? We absolutely do. I just think that we don't always refer to it as the BIP. You know, it's just, you know, what's our plan, whatever, but there is a very specific thing that the BIP does in the school setting. So that's the definition that I'm giving you here. And because this week is all about the education piece, right? We've had great guests talking with us about education, and tonight we're having that town hall. So let's move on to our working definition of the BIP to see what do we really need to know out of this. So the BIP is still a behavior intervention plan. It's a concise plan based on child-specific data for successfully managing challenging behavior. It protects the child from forms of discipline that are not effective, punitive, and random. So let's say that Johnny is in class and, you know, the school calls mom and says, hey, you know, Johnny's not paying attention. And, you know, mom's like, okay, what exactly would you like me to do about that? Because I'm a great mom, but I'm at work when Johnny's at school and I don't have control over what's happening when Johnny's at school, right? And it's very frustrating. And what if it's, you know, Johnny's hurting himself or Johnny's hurting somebody else, right? whatever it is, school will notify the parents as if we're supposed to magically turn into the wife on The Incredibles, and our arms can shoot out millions of feet and come to school and correct the child for what they're doing. It's crazy town, right? And yet, so school will send home a couple of notices and saying, he's hitting the student next to him. And then eventually an IEP meeting is called and they go, he's going to have to go to a different setting because he's being disruptive. And one of the things in the IEP is that if he is, preventing other learners from learning or harming other people, then he doesn't get to be in the least restrictive environment. And we want to protect their least restrictive environment. Whatever their setting is that we said cognitively that they could go into, we don't want to lose that because of behavior, one way or the other, right? So instead of sitting there and doing nothing about it, if somebody sends home a note and says the child is engaging in a behavior, we can start by asking questions, but fairly quickly, we want to ask for that FBA that was discussed on the last slide. An FBA is a functional behavior assessment. And what that does is an expert, hopefully a BCBA that's on staff at the school, that hopefully has a BCBA on staff at the school, that knows how to do a proper functional behavior assessment, tries to figure out what's actually happening. Why is the child engaging in this behavior? They're going to look at what happens before the behavior, what the behavior is like, and what happens as a consequence of the behavior. And then they're going to, once they've done the functional behavior assessment, they're going to convene a team, which will include the parents, if the parents choose to be there. And I'm going to cheat sheet, go right to the point here, be there for that, right? And we're going to come up with a plan that hopefully is based on the data of what the child was doing. It's not like a prefab, the child is hitting somebody, so let's spit out the BIP for when somebody's hitting somebody. It's an individualized education plan, IEP, and the behavior intervention plan has to be individualized as well. So we look at exactly why the child is engaged in this behavior, which is unlike what any other child is doing, right? So we find the function or functions of the behavior and we sit down and we want to make a plan for how are we going to intervene. Now, good BIP says, here's the behavior, here's why we're pretty sure that it's happening, but there's always a little asterisk that we might find out differently. And here's what we can do before the behavior happens. That's the antecedent modification. Here's what we can change before so that maybe we never get to this behavior. Here is the replacement behavior that we're going to give this individual because there's a reason why they're engaged in this behavior. And sometimes that's something you teach somebody, sometimes it's something else that you give them, but there's a replacement behavior so that we make sure that the need is being filled. That's key, right? And here is the consequence strategy that we have in place if this behavior happens so that we're not reinforcing the behavior. So I know I just spit a lot at you, but a good BIP has all of those things. And if it isn't in the replacement behavior to teach something, that we have something that we teach as well, right? It's an educational setting. Of course, we want to be teaching something, but we want to be successful. So if Johnny's not paying attention and we do the functional behavior assessment and we discover whole bunches of different things, right? We could discover that, Johnny is sitting behind a girl who has a big old yellow ponytail that likes to swish it. And that Johnny is so focused on that ponytail that everything else he can't focus, right? So in that case, the behavior intervention plan is not going to be hugely horrible, right? We're going to try a different placement setting for Johnny. But we're not just going to leave it at that. We're going to follow that process that I was just talking about. So the antecedent modification is that Johnny is put in a seat in the front of the classroom, right? But also that the teacher's going to check in on a regular basis. Maybe we discover that because he's very visually that, there's going to be a card that she holds up that gives him a thumbs up or a happy face or, some icon that he likes when he's paying attention, right? And we're going to make sure that because that's part of the replacement, he's going to get that visual stimulus from paying attention. And then we're going to put a consequence in place so that if we see that his attention has wandered, that maybe the consequence strategy is that the teacher goes over and just puts her hand on the desk and he knows that he's got to pay attention, right? It's not punitive, right? And the whole thing you see here is that we put a behavior intervention plan in place so that people don't just do something random. And I hate to tell the stories of the teachers and the substitute teachers who come in. There was the little boy, it just makes me so mad, a second grader who has a sensory thing that he likes to touch the tops of other people's ears. And they were working on that with him, and they had a behavior intervention plan for this little guy, but nobody shared it with the substitute teacher. And so what she did was she kept telling him, stop doing that, stop doing that, stop doing that. And then eventually she went over and pinched his little ears and said, how do you like that? Do you like it when people do it to you? Because that's how she was raised. And let's stop for a second and go, where's the basis for that working? That's humiliation and pain and punitiveness, right? But you know, that's how she chose to do it. Well, when you have a behavior intervention plan, and when there's a box on the first page of the IEP that says BIP plan attached, when that little box is checked, then the BIP becomes part of the IEP, which is a legal document. And if people don't follow everything in the legal document, that is legally actionable. So if the BIP, like I don't want for anybody to be pinching ears to begin with, and I think the BIP is our best bet for like stupidity that happens to not happen. But in the case that it does happen, you know, the legal system has in place things that you can do for reparations for it. Now, I'm not about that. I don't want to get to the point where we have to get reparations for somebody being horrible and cruel to my child. So I'm one of those moms that I'm all about the BIP, so that my child, you know, gets the proper intervention and doesn't get moved out of a placement that's good for him because of somebody doesn't know what they're doing, right? I'm for education, and a BIP plan teaches people how to react to things that your child is doing. And I'm all for putting things in place that cradle our children and help them to be rockets and take off, right? So every year, what I would do is take the BIP plan, even more than the IEP, right? But it's good if you can do both, but take the BIP plan and I would stick it in one of those protective sheets. A mom told me to do this, and then put magnets on the back of it, and you give it to everybody who is on your team. And you say to the teacher, the classroom teacher, and if you have a substitute, can you please tell them where this is so that they can read through this before the day starts? Because I don't want to get to the point where we have to get lawyers, but I'll tell you what, it's important that you get the BIP and that you make sure that that little box is checked so that if something happens, you're able to point to it and go, excuse me, you knew better. I don't want to wait till that. But anyway, all right, BIP, a pretty incredible thing. By the way, we talk about skills all the time. Skills has an amazing BIP builder. It's better than anything else that I've seen. I like to use it both to build a BIP, but to check a BIP. Because sometimes the school will just give you a BIP and go, well, here's the plan that we're going to do for your child, right? And then you check it with the BIP builder and it will tell you if it's a solid BIP, if it's scientifically based. And you can follow right along and look at it. I've shown the BIP builder to teachers and teachers go, this is amazing. It's a really cool thing. So that's Skills for Autism. You can check that out. Okay, we're running late here because we've got a great guest. So let's move on to our question of the day. Our question today is, what do you do when you feel yourself starting to melt down? Look, we all have moments when we feel like the wheels are coming off. If you didn't feel that ever before, you're feeling it at some point in this great isolation, right, that we're all in. So what do you do for yourself when you feel a meltdown coming down? Now, I always say that for me, there's a difference between a tantrum and a meltdown. And a tantrum is when you're not getting your way and you want to get your way, right? And the defining thing for me is if someone's having a tantrum and you give them what they want, then the tantrum stops, right? If I'm standing in line at the DMV and they're letting other people go ahead of me and I start yelling and going, hey, you know, this is crap and I'm going to call and complain and you're taking people in front of me and da, 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 da. And I start to yell, right? I'm having a tantrum. But if the person says, I'm so sorry, you're next, come on right now, I'm taking you right now, then I stop yelling. That's a tantrum. A meltdown is when a tantrum happens, and even if you give me the thing I want, I'm still upset. And I'm still like the wheels are coming off. And I don't know if you've ever had that happen. I certainly have had meltdowns because I have allergies and I have sensory issues. And part of what I want to say to you is meltdowns happen because there's other stuff on board. But so and right now we all have other stuff on board because we don't have control over our entire lives right now. We can't just do what we want to do. You can't just walk out your door and go to the mall right now. Maybe in some places you can right now. I can't. But so what do you do when you feel the meltdown starting? When you feel like, oh, the wheels are all coming off? Because I really want us to talk about this today. Because there are lots of things that we can do. And sometimes you might have a way that's really effective for you that I may never have thought about that ends up being my way. And I think it's good to talk about these things, to have a plan for what to do. And I think that when we know this for ourselves, then we are kinder and gentler for other people when we're watching them struggle with or achieve the process. And that's where we all need to get, right? Is having an awareness that just because what I have going on is not what you have going on. And that I know when I have something going on, what I would like is some understanding and maybe some room, but some kindness, right? But so let's chat about, you know, what are the things that we do to help ourselves with meltdowns, but let's also get a little bit more in tune with the fact that everybody's got something going on. Whether it's this period of time when we're dealing with COVID or any period of time, everybody has something going on. I have a friend who was battling cancer and she had to pull up and get her mail, and it was a chemo day and she needed the mail and she couldn't, there were no parking spots. And so she parked in a place she should not have parked. And she went into the mail place to get it. And here came the mailman who was just screaming at her and saying, you know, lady, what is wrong with you? You are the most inconsiderate. You just are like this privileged, blah, 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 you know, this horrible. And my friend looked at this mailman and said, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to focus on being able to breathe today. It's a chemo day. And the mailman immediately changed and was like, I'm so sorry. I battled cancer 2 years ago. Bless your heart. What can I do? Can I help you? And the whole equation changed, right? And sometimes we're looking at other people and going, what are you doing, right? But it's because they have things going on. So we're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. But our topic of the week this week, we've already sort of touched on it because we're talking about education, is learning to learn. How can we all help ourselves and help our loved ones to be efficient learners? And it is not a one size fits all. It just isn't. And as a former teacher, this is one of the things that jazzes me, is finding out, oh, I learn this way, you learn that way. How can I teach you? And when we connect, when I can teach you this in a way that is different than I learn, ooh, that's some exciting stuff. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But we've got this great guest that's here with us today. I've been friends on Facebook, but I've not had the pleasure of talking with him directly before today. Brenton Tyler Hoffman is joining us right now. He's an actor, a model, a dancer, a guitarist, a rapper, a motivational speaker, and an amazing young man. And so I believe that he is here with us. Can we activate his camera, Traven? And we'll talk to Brenton about all the things that we want to talk with him about. So, Brenton, are you there? I thought I saw him come in the room, but perhaps I am mistaken. No? Is he with us, Traven? All right, I'm going to keep talking until we get that all up and running. There. Okay, I knew if I took him. There's Brenton. Brenton, can you hear us? Do you see your sound button on your, and maybe Traven, you can be messaging him to let him know what he has to do. But I'm really excited. More and more people have been writing to us and saying, hey, have you got time for me to be on your show? We do have a process for people if you want to be on the show while Brenton is getting his stuff hooked up. But we love to hear from you guys. And if you have something in particular that you want to talk about here on the show, you can reach out directly to me. But it is important that you tell me what you want to come on and talk about. But we're going to be talking with Brenton today about a lot of different things in his life, and how autism is a part of his life and things that he does to motivate other people. Can you hear us now, Brenton?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, and we can hear you. Fabulous. And so excited to have you here with us this morning. So Brenton, tell our audience members a little bit about you and how autism plays a role in your life.
Well, it's a great question. It fluctuates. It goes in cycles a lot. It's a very, very misunderstood condition, probably one of the most misunderstood conditions on planet Earth, I'd say, because people like to pigeonhole it and say that it's, high functioning, low functioning. And what people don't understand is that it fluctuates in cycles. So one day you could be not functioning at all. You could be completely brain dead from the brain fog. From the overstimulation, from the sensory overload challenges to everything in between. And then other days you're perfectly functioning and you feel fine. But I would say that there's more off days than on.
And so to be clear, because I never like to define for someone else, but how do you identify yourself? Do you identify as, what words do you use to identify yourself? Let's put it that way.
I'm actually, I'm actually above and beyond identifications. I don't even really identify with much of anything anymore.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So tell us about you, because you're very multi-talented and you have a lot of things going on. Tell us a little bit about your life.
Sure, you gotta bear with me as I'm trying to multitask, because I'm actually, I'm on the phone right now.
Oh.
On Zoom, and I wanted to bring it over to my laptop, but there's like all these interferences, so I'm just saying forget the laptop. I'm just gonna go straight from my phone. But,
okay.
But that's what was happening, and then there was some sound problems, but I can hear you fine, you can hear me, so we're good. So your question was a little bit about more of my life and what I've...
Yeah, well, one of the things that you had said to me that you wanted to talk about, I'm looking back at my notes because I'm like, do I have this wrong? One of the things that you had said was that you wanted to talk about my life living on the autism spectrum, but I don't want to put labels. So tell me what you want to talk about with that.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think it's because you asked me like, a couple things to talk about, and I like to keep things relevant. And so it's interesting because I tuned into your show a little bit while I was multitasking and trying to, get things set up, and you were, basically, it sounded to me you guys were talking about sensory challenges and stuff. I heard you talk about going to the DMV and meltdowns and things like that.
Yeah.
So
I'm a very sensory person. I was saying at the start of the show that I don't have a diagnosis, but I'm a very sensory person, and I struggle with sensory things, and I have to take deep breaths, and I have to have strategies to help myself with that. But that's not the same as someone that has a diagnosis, and I'm well aware of that. But I always like to try to relate it to other people so that they can see, this isn't something that's foreign and removed. We can all understand these things. We just have them to different degrees. But is that how you feel about it?
Absolutely. It's a spectrum for a reason. And it took the DSM, a really long time to figure that out. I was actually denied multiple times because supposedly I appear so high functioning according to their criteria, as they put it, that but the testing was always really close. They said, oh, mild. If anything, you have like very form of mild autism. And I'm like, look, I would tell them, I'd say, listen, mild, not mild, like, autism is like a conundrum. It's so complex, and I think that when you try to figure it out, you dig yourself deeper in a hole of confusion. And then there's a lot of misinformation out there, and just like this whole COVID-19 thing, I think everybody's just trying to be a know-it-all, and everybody's just trying to think they have all the answers. And I think that they would rather act smart and play off being stupid, if that makes any sense to you, like without judgments. Like they would, rather than go ask for an answer or figure out what the real answer is and get real evidence, they would rather act intelligent or think that they have the answer and make themselves look foolish for their own ego purposes. I mean, it's ridiculous. And
what I'm interested in is that you have a very unique vantage point, because you are someone who, I imagine you've dealt with some challenges in your life, and you tend to be somebody who comes through them, and have recently had challenges that you've come through.
That's my specialty.
We'll talk about that.
Sure.
There's even a name that they have for you. What is your nickname?
The Walking Miracle Warrior.
And why? Why do you have that? And how has that been reaffirmed recently?
Great question. So the reason why I go by the Walking Miracle Warrior is because I've overcome things that most people, or, when I say most, I don't really refer that or put it in the category of all. But statistically, out of a lot of people, I've overcome a lot of things that you usually don't walk away from. And there's a lot of people out there, that also have gone through similar situations, but we're talking like, medically, they said it was impossible, like the percentages were like 0.00001, like just impossible odds, so I've been deemed a medical anomaly. Not just once, but multiple times.
And I don't want to pry, but like, what are you willing to tell us? Like, what are some of the things that you've come through?
Sure. I don't know how much you investigated me or researched me or learned about me or whatever. I'm famous amongst certain circles. There's different levels of fame. You got like worldwide, global fame. They call that the Tom Cruise fame, or whatever. And then you got fame where people know you amongst certain circles or certain individuals. And I'm kind of that name. My name's Brett and Tyler Hoffman. People, when I meet people, they'll go, "Oh, that name sounds familiar. I've heard that before," or "You look familiar." So it's kind of like that, where certain individuals recognize you and other people have no idea who you are. But to answer your question, in terms of like what I've been through, like I said, my life is an open book. You can research me. My information's out there. It's on Facebook. It's on Google. But for a few things, for those that don't know me, going back in the history a little bit, I overcame a rare blood infection bacterium at 6 months of age. I had a hernia at age 5. I mean, what child, 5 years old has a hernia? You know what I mean? Like, that's serious stuff. So we're talking the rare blood infection, survived that. The hernia, survived that. And then, just overcame serious stuff, years of child abuse and neglect and just so many different complicated things, on top of sensory challenges and things like that, as if that wasn't enough to deal with. But the serious stuff was like, at 18 years old, I was in a major car accident and shattered my C6 vertebrae. If anybody knows anything about vertebrae and stuff like that, your C6 is probably one of the most sensitive vertebrae on your spine. Very similar injury. The same thing that happened to Christopher Reeve happened to me, and I actually survived it. I actually miraculously walked away 12 hours later when the doctors told me I would never walk again, and they were just scratching their head like, how's this even possible?
You're a miracle. You're a survivor.
Yes. Resilient, as resilient as they come, I would say. Yeah.
And you've taken that, and you don't take it lightly from what I've seen of you, and are trying to utilize that for good. You are a very handsome young man, and so you are a model, and you are an actor.
A lot of different things. Yeah. Not professionally. Yeah, on my journey, I've done a lot of things. I've modeled and I've, done music. I'm a hip hop recording artist and a music producer, and I've done a lot of different things. But my main focus, is coaching and consulting, harmonic consulting, is my company. And, you know, I do a lot of charitable work, and, you know, I give away my time, and I do things more from a philanthropic, a humanitarian perspective. And I've helped a lot of people with disabilities, including autism. And I've actually had, you know, one of my students actually is a pretty successful person on the autism circuit that speaks all over the country with his mother. He's a former student of mine. I helped him and inspired him to get to the next level of greatness, and, you know, really step into that resilience. So
Is this somebody we've had on the show?
possibly, yeah. Yeah, I believe so.
You're not allowed to say their name?
He might have been on the show. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say his name. I mean, he's given me a testimonial before, but we're no longer in contact. We don't, I don't help him anymore. He's done his own thing. I think that there was a perceive, and I say it very, when I really pay attention to the words I say, but I would say from his perspective, it was a perceived, he misunderstood me because he's on the autism spectrum. He might have somehow in some way misinterpreted my intentions of me helping him. You know, everyone has their fears and their challenges and their struggles, you know, and the stories they make up in their head, regardless if they're true or not. And I think it was one of those situations, but I helped him tremendously in his life and his path, and, you know, the success that he's had today.
Now, one of the things that you also said that you wanted to talk about is the phrase, the spectrum in everything. Tell me what you want to talk about with that.
Sure. So I think that people will start to understand autism, and not just autism, but, you know, other disabilities, disorders, diseases, all kinds of things, even this whole COVID-19 thing going on right now. If they stop identifying, again, right, when you ask me, how do I identify with stuff? I don't identify with things anymore, because I think once you start to identify, you pigeonhole yourself into one particular thing, and then it's no longer a spectrum. So I think that everything truly is a spectrum, all the way down from, you know, a snowflake with its most unique original designs. There's no two alike, all the way down, you know what I mean? Like everything truly is a spectrum. There is no one size fits all. I don't know if you got that part in my message where I said that autism isn't a cookie, people. You know, there's no cookie cutter approach to this. You know, stop identifying with what you think it is, and just realize that it's like a fingerprint. There's no one two alike. It's just, that's the way it is.
And I so appreciate that. I don't know that I know how to overcome, because as I always talk about, you know, that here on the show, we're talking about the larger autism community. So that starts with individuals who have a diagnosis, but then we extend that to everybody who loves them, right? And for the people I'm one of the people, I have a son who was diagnosed at 2.5. And so I care and I want to be helpful. And the last thing I want to do is use language that sets anybody back, right? But sometimes we don't know. So I want to ask you, like, what, for those of us who love someone on the spectrum, what are the things that we can be doing to help and not hinder? Because we don't always know.
Sure, great question. So I think that's when you treat them as the individual that they are through that perspective or that experience, and stop treating them like they're 5, or stop treating them like they have autism, and you just treat them as so in that experience, if that makes any sense, then you'll have better and greater results. I think that if you there's this thing in sales, a lot of us learn this just in general in business and just life, and I've especially learned it. It's called mirroring and matching. And unfortunately, that doesn't work with somebody with autism. If you mirror and match them, they actually will think that you're giving them a hard time, what I've noticed. And again, everyone's different, but I'm saying there's these universal similarities in a lot of people with autism. And I think that when you have autism, I've noticed this on my journey, that when you have autism, you have really greater intuition levels, and you know who has autism and who doesn't. Like I can literally look at somebody, I kid you not, and I can know right away if they have autism or not. It's just one of my gifts. Yeah, I just know who's on the spectrum, who isn't. And people say, well, that's extremely controversial. Like, you're not a doctor. You don't need to be a doctor to have this level of intuition. It's God-given. You're born with it.
Interesting. Somebody's written in, because we, one of the things, we have a question of the day and we ask people, what do you do to help yourself when you're having a meltdown? And somebody wrote in and said, I rarely have meltdowns, but they are vicious when they happen. And they went on to say that having a learning disability made me feel stupid. And as a former teacher, boy, that just rips my heart apart, because one of the things that we've been talking about all week is that people learn in lots of different ways. That doesn't make anybody wrong.
People love in
and
different ways, people express in different ways, people, and
yeah.
it really comes down to cognitive dissonance. Look that up, cognitive dissonance. And it really comes down to our belief systems and what shapes and makes our world.
Yeah, absolutely. Has anybody ever made you feel like you were less than because of who you are?
Well, great question. Back then, yes, I used to believe that people made me feel certain ways, but over all the work that I've done on myself and my level of awareness and perception, I realized that it was never anybody who made me feel anything, but it was more myself based on my own perceptual experience.
Interesting. And so when you're coaching people, who's like your ideal client? Like what kind of person do you really love to coach?
Well, for one, great question. I love to coach people who are coachable and who are willing to want to change and believe that they not so much have a problem, but look at it from the perspective of they want to grow and they want to expand their level of consciousness and awareness, and they want to know how to basically stop constantly always trying to identify with things that's what they are. Those are my best clients, because they're more likely to have the most success in their life.
And is it pretty open-ended for your clients, Brendan? If they do you only take people who want to be in the public eye and want to be speakers or writers? Or if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I just really, for instance, I want to be better in my social circle. I feel like I don't understand when I'm around, people of the opposite sex. I don't understand all the unspoken stuff. Do you take those kinds of clients? What's your area of expertise, or is it broad?
I'm really doing my best these days to narrow it down to one specific category of individuals. But for the longest time, it's been broad. And I think that's actually, I think that's hurt me more than helped me, because it's like, I have that mentality and that heart center where I just want to help as many people as I can. And I think that, it's a great quality, but what happens is it limits me, because there's only so much time. There's only so much, there's so many hours in a day, there's only so much you can do for somebody. I think it really comes down to work with the willing, who's willing to change their life for the better, and who's willing to invest. Life is, yes, I've given my services complimentary and have helped people tremendously for a long time. Most of my work has been very, philanthropic, and, and I help all different types of people, and people who genuinely could not afford me, and all these things. And I think it comes to a time in your life where life is really a value system. And I think that people are willing to truly invest in themselves if they can really see an outcome in a situation. And I have to help them see that outcome, but it's never up to me. I don't ever guarantee anything, because it's humanly impossible to guarantee something.
Sure. And one of the other things that you said that you wanted to talk about is sensory overload to the max. And I've already identified that I'm somebody who has sensory issues, so I'm very interested.
Yes. So for one, I'd like to ask you a question and return to that. How long have you had sensory issues? Have you had them your whole life?
Yes. From being a very young child. Yes.
Right. So like when your mom was vacuuming the house, like what did you do?
I would sit and do this so that it would make a noise. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd pat your ears, or you'd hold them?
I would pat them so that it would make the noise. It would make a funny noise, and I liked the noise that it made. Right.
So here's
I haven't thought of that in years.
Great. I used to do the same thing, and I never knew why, but it all started to make sense after I got my diagnosis. And you know, the thing is it's never too late to get a diagnosis, and the diagnosis is not just to have a label and say, okay, look at me, I got autism now. It's to give you a level of understanding, like, okay, cool, I'm not crazy, this is real, I've had this my whole life, it all makes sense now. And that's how it was with me. Now, to answer your question, because I was curious, I wanted to ask you a question after you asked me a question, because I wanted to see how it was relevant. Yeah, the sensory challenges have been unexplainably, incomprehensibly complex, to say the least. Like,
Yeah.
they are very, very overwhelming, and they never, no matter how much meditation I've done, all the thousands upon thousands of hours, I haven't, you know, I can't even keep track of how much meditation and going within, and all the work, you know, spiritual work I've done on myself, as well as personally developing myself for 20 years. I mean, I've been on this journey. I still struggle with these sensory challenges, and again, some days are worse than others. People need to understand that there's going to be days where it's going to be so overwhelming, you're just going to feel like you're going to, you know, crawling in your skin kind of thing. But the thing is, again, it's a spectrum. Goes back to those other questions, right? Like in the sensory, it's like you never know, and you can never pinpoint when it's going to be worse or when it's not. Sometimes it's like anxiety or like panic attack. It could just hit you out of nowhere. But there's subtleties, and if you're aware and you've had it enough times, you could actually catch yourself from having that anxiety attack or that meltdown, going into that question from before, and you could actually lessen the impact of that experience, that sensory experience, or that reaction you're going to have, because you are keen awareness of seeing it or feeling it before it happens. Does that make sense? You
Yeah, it
know,
makes total sense.
yeah, so you can calm yourself down in situations because you're aware of what you went through before. Best way I could describe it.
Yeah, no, I love, so, okay, now I have another question for you. Do you find, I know for me, one of the things that I discovered is that I have allergies. I have both food allergies and allergies to things in the environment. And so certain times of the year, I have to be extra careful with my diet, because if it's like, it's almost like my body can handle this much, and if you put this much more on, then everything cascades down. So for my sensory issues, if it's allergy season and I've eaten something that I have a mild allergy to, and something sensory happens, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
Game over. Do you find that too, or is that just me?
Absolutely. That's why I'm nodding my head. Yeah, in agreement. Yeah, and I think it's very common for a lot of people on the spectrum. Again, I think there's, okay, here's the thing. When you become really, really aware of this, and the more, I'd say the more in tune you are, or the more consciously aware of something you are, and the more in the heart, the less you're in the ego. Does that make sense? So if you're trying to figure everything out, right, you think you have all the answers and you think you know everything, then, you know, it usually is a backlash. But I have become very, very aware of my sensory acuity, and not just within myself, but I can literally, I know, I'm like kind of like the good doctor in a way. I know when somebody's hurting. I know when somebody's in pain. I know, even if they're showing me that they're not, even if you're smiling right at me, looking at me, look like everything's fine, like look at me, hey, how's it going? We're all just having a good time here. I know, I could see through the veil of people's pain, people's confusion, people's anxiety, people's worries. And it's kind of shocking. You know, there's times when I could, you know, I don't even need to make direct contact to get information. That's where my intuition comes from, you know.
So I know you don't like labels, but if people talk to you about whether you are, because there are people who identify themselves as intuits, that they can intuitively, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I try not to get caught up in the labels, but unfortunately we live in a world, us human beings, we like to identify with certain things. I mean, I can identify with certain things. I just don't like to pigeonhole me, because then people say, oh, that guy was pretty interesting. That actor that was on Autism Live. Yeah, you know, it's interesting. He's an actor. What movie is he in? I haven't seen him in a movie. You see, you get pigeonholed into this certain category, and then people think that's what you are. So it's like, if I was to, if somebody was to say, what do I identify with, or what are you, or, you know, how, I would just say, you know, it's hard to say that. I would just say, because people have called me, you know, a modern day Renaissance man, because I do so many different things, you know, and again, that can hurt you as more than help you, because
Yes.
if you have autism and ADHD, you don't go you're all over the place. You got your hands in too many cookie jars.
Yes, I understand completely what you're singing my language here. So let's stop for just a second because we're running out of time here. And I want to make sure that people know if they're interested in being coached by you, or they know somebody, or they want more information about you, where would we send them?
Sure. So got a website, brentontylerhoffman.com. Just how's it sound? I don't know if you put it up, but it's BRENTON and then TYLER, middle name Hoffman, HOFFMANN. Kind of a long name, brentontylerhoffman.com. You can go there. All the information's there. You can, it explains everything, but also, it's connected to my other site, Harmonic Consulting, and I have Facebook, Harmonic Consulting. You can go there. You could check out the testimonials and the people that I've helped, video as well as written testimonials, to make a sound decision for yourself if we'd be a good fit or not. I'm not a fit for everybody.
Wonderful.
I'm again, people try to identify me. They'll say, "Are you a nice person? Are you a mean person?" I am what you want me to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it really comes down to how bad do you want change. I think if people want change as bad as they want to breathe, they'll make change and they'll invest in their future and their life.
And I'm gonna readdress this, but if you don't want to talk about this, then we won't answer it. But there was something that I believe from being friends with you on Facebook that recently that you went through that sort of reaffirmed that warrior survivor thing. Do you want to talk about that or not?
Sure, yeah. What would you like to ask me? For one, I was in a magazine just recently on the cover of Influential People magazine, rated as one of the top influential, resilient experts in the world. So I'm pretty proud of that.
That's amazing. But I was talking specifically about the fact that you had a little bit of a COVID experience, I believe.
Yeah. So it's complex, right? Because I got sick in February. Oh, was it February? I'm trying to remember.
I feel like it was March.
Yeah. Well, March 20th, I ended up in the hospital. I actually, I really wrote it out, me being resilient, and I just thought it was a respiratory infection that went into my lungs. And I thought, whatever, I'll just ride this off. No big deal. I've always had that mentality, ride it out till the wheels fall off kind of thing. And it was just too much to bear. I couldn't take it. Drove myself to the hospital when I was really sick. I didn't even know how sick I was, but I drove myself to the hospital and got there, and very, very stressful situation. I had to call in advance, let them know that I was coming. A lot of runaround, very stressed. I mean, you're already sick and stressed out in general. You have to go through more stress. But anyways, get there. They run tests. They finally tell me that they had a concern. Saw that I had what is called bilateral pneumonia in both of my lungs. I'm thinking, oh, great. That does not sound good. What's the next step? Blah, blah, blah. They said, well, your insurance doesn't cover this particular hospital that you're at. So, we're going to have to send you home. I'm thinking, you're sending me home with bilateral pneumonia? Like, so you're sending me to my bed to die? Is that what you're saying to me? I'm like, you got to find another solution. So they got me to another hospital that accepted my insurance. Go figure, right? It's always an insurance thing, right, that gets in the way. And they ran some other tests again, confirmed that I did have double bilateral pneumonia, and put me in a special room. And I felt like I was in the movie E.T. meets the boy that could fly from the 80s. It was just ridiculous.
Were they all in hazmat suits and things around you? That's got to be weird.
Yeah, all the above. Yeah. And then finally got my test results. Took a really long time because that was a couple months ago. So I guess things have sped up now. But and that, yeah, they said that they confirmed that I actually had the COVID-19, and I was just like, you got to be freaking kidding me! Like with bilateral pneumonia, which like most people are like on respirators and like or die from that, So again, right, a true walking miracle. I mean, the fact that they told me I had it, but then on top of that, the fact that I was able to, I didn't even, my CO2 levels were normal. They were looking at me like, how's this even possible? Like your CO2 levels are normal. You have bilateral pneumonia, like, all this stuff. So anyways, So yeah, it's a mystery to me because, you know, my whole life I've been sick. You know, I've had challenges. You know, sensory challenges with the autism, all that stuff. But I was also diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease as well. I mean, you can look at my story. It's pretty amazing. It's enough to make your head spin, you know. And all
But here you are, you overcame all of that. Here you are, and you seem pretty healthy now. Do you feel well now?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, yes, and I mean, compared to that, yes, I do. But I mean, I have been, you know, in the house a lot and cabin fever and haven't spent time with anybody and this whole COVID-19 and social distancing and all this stuff. And you know, we're talking, you know, I've been in the house for 60 days or probably no longer, you know. So it's I feel like I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like I feel kind of under the weather, you know, because I don't go out much. And so
But how are your lungs though? Or is the bilateral pneumonia gone?
Oh yeah. I mean, it left an after effect for whatever reason, you know, like I feel like I'm still regenerating and recovering from the hit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it takes a while. I mean, I've had pneumonia before and it takes a while to get over it fully, but I'm
doing better.
I'm glad that you're on the mend at least, and what a great testimony for people, you know, to hear that you did get over it and that you are an amazing survivor and a warrior. And so give the websites again, because we're out of time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. It doesn't even seem like it was like, how much time was that? It's like time goes by so fast. I'm like,
I know. And we actually kept you much longer than we had said we were going to. So thanks for being willing. So what's your website?
Yeah, the website is Brenton, my name, BrentonTylerHoffman.com. Also, if you guys are curious about me, you know, I'm a public figure. You can Google me, Brent Tyler Hoffman. Just on Google, you can find stuff on me there. But if you go to my website, all the information's there. Check it out. Reach out to me, and yeah, I'd love to talk to you more.
Thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate you taking the time.